Hello, everyone. It's Friday, and we are back with the Premier League for Paladins. Yesterday was an interesting day. Today, it's going to be even more interesting. My name is Gormizer. Joining me on the desk for today is going to be Rain Day.
Hello!
And or at least for the first set as we come through, because we get SSG, who had a stellar performance yesterday, and the Knights, who eked out a win, but based on Cuts on Twitter, Cuts in his post-game interview, and Cuts in general, he did not seem happy that it took him 7 games.
I mean, I have a lot of confidence for these guys, especially if they can hold a straight face and say that they knew they were going to win all the time. You know, they always never have any problems. It's always say we didn't play the right way or now we know what to do. And I like that about them. They keep this confidence, this air of, hey, it's all going to be all right. We're going to figure it out. We got the talent we need. Yeah. And to me, I'd rather have that than a team throwing each other under the bus saying this is why I went wrong. So I think Cuss is the emotional leader. Ricotta being the captain, we've always said that's a weird situation for him. And obviously it works for them, but Cuss is the guy who's going to get them going. He got them going yesterday, and it was pretty interesting to see.
And that was actually one of the big things, was there was a point where we actually got to see him giving a pep talk, essentially getting them back into the zone.
I like
to be
that,
able to come through. And it's exactly what you need in the middle of a set. You can see the standings right there. Spacestation Gaming, kind of the surprise. They have their one win. It was against Envy. And Envy's nowhere near where people might have thought at the beginning. They're number 5.
And Gore, I want to nitpick on one thing you said. It was a surprise, but only because we didn't know if they would be able to continue the level of play based on the fact that they're only here 48 hours ago. But we know this team is a world championship quality team. If they got through over Envy last year, they would be our world champions. There's no doubt about it in my mind. SSG have that in their roster. So it's about who's playing today. The big thing for me is that Pittsburgh, they're awesome. They've clearly shown they can battle through a lot of tough issues. They've taken a win off of Virtus Pro. They're a team that's going to be in the thick of things. But SSG, man, and the way they were playing, especially Sadak, I don't know who can stop them.
And that was actually one of the things that was interesting yesterday. We saw a lot of Ruckus first picks coming through in their set against Envy.
Right.
And that's because you had Rubu and Sadak both playing that. And Sadak is probably the one that catches my eye the most on this team, because you go back a little bit, and he was not a main player for this roster. He was their coach originally. Like, going into the World Championship, he was playing as their coach. He was a sub because they had an issue getting one of their players here, and their performance was so good there that, again, you see someone who makes it mainstay. It opens up the coach spot. They get to bring in Kresnik, but, I mean, his Ruckus, obviously his Ash, and his Barrack were all very impressive.
Well, the thing is, why these guys didn't think Sadak would have been the perfect spot anyways befuddles me. And I want to bring out a new word today, because that's seriously how I felt. It's a new experience. This man has already done what you just did last year. He did it before with Nocturnes. And now he's shown flexibility to be able to compete at this high level. He knows what you guys know. And this is what I love about him. He brings the humor. He's the jokester. He gives them a lot of personality. There are some younger fellas on there. There are some softer spoken guys on there. Sadak, Aries, those, in my opinion, are the two emotional leaders for SSG, and it's huge.
And, you know, in the past, we've actually talked about that specific element being brought, where we mentioned Simsalou and a long time ago, where it was just, you know, if you have Elvin Path at the time, who's your captain, and, you know, Elvin Path was Elvin Path, very blank face, very serious.
Wow, that's weird.
And then, but Simsalou was the guy who lightened the environment. And it's one of those things that when you have that, that's kind of how I feel like the dynamic of every team needs to be. You need to be able to have fun together.
Yeah.
And yes, there has to be that guy who is serious, but you also have to be able to kind of alleviate that pressure some of the time.
And you know, Midtow, he's a great support for them. But you see, everyone's playing off of Sadak, right? Sadak did the chair turn, Midtow doing the thing, looking to the left or right, say, we're being funny today. And they're feeling good about their performance. I mean, I think this was a huge weight off their shoulders, too, having gone through the travel, having the expectations of the org of Spacestation, doing so many great things in esports right now, and him having 4 kills to even finish off big pushes against Envy like this. I think they're like, finally we know that we are the same team as before, and it's now our turn.
And, you know, yesterday, one of the things I was mentioning specifically was the fact that Mr. Hayes, when they were playing against Envy, in my mind, is putting his name up there with Spunky, where it is like when he plays Maldamba, he's hitting the stuns, he's hitting Dread Serpents that change the game and fundamentally make you realize the support isn't just the heal machine behind you. Like, he is going to impact you. And I feel like Mitau is putting his name on that list. I mean, that last game that we just saw with the Genos clips, like, that one was a very big impact, obviously, but when he's playing that Maldamba as well, he's hitting those stuns, he's, like, hitting the Dread Serpents that will either help or hurt the enemy depending on where they go.
Well, Mr. Hayes is fit in really well with Envy, and he's clearly a world champion, so you can't put you have to put respect on his name. But Spunky has been doing it for a lot longer and a lot of different champions, and I don't think anyone is right there yet. But Mitzau definitely showing that he has a tendency to be able to play with the Genos. I think that's exceptional. I see Mr. Hayes use it quite often, but I haven't seen him get as aggressive offensively as we've seen Mitzau have the tendency to do. So I'm pretty excited about the future of both of these supports, and they got the world ahead of them.
Well, Spacestation looked really, really good yesterday. Not even last week. Yesterday, they were able to come through and look really, really good against Envy. Going into it, their coach seemed like they were just really coming out to be able to play well. Whether or not they won wasn't on their mind. But now that they've won, we're going to be able to jump down and see how Kresnik feels going into today.
Awesome, guys. Thanks so much down here in the Space Station booth with Kresnik, the new coach here. How have you been enjoying the position with these guys?
After yesterday, I was enjoying it quite a bit. It's been great hanging out with them and learning more about who they are after, just bumping into them at LANs before. Right.
I mean, Aries just getting here. You guys only having a couple days of practice. As the coach, do you feel a big responsibility to kind of get them ready with what limited time you do have?
It's a group effort, but I mean, I've been trying to help them. Before we got here, it was all focusing on communication and strategy because there's a lot of stuff we couldn't practice mechanically online. But yeah, all that was done ahead of time once we got here. Up to me to keep them focused and executing.
So in the post-game interview yesterday, we talked about how was that the same Team Envy? How do you guys feel about this one? Obviously feeling great after taking down the world champs regardless, but how do you feel going up against a team like Pittsburgh Knights who has been playing up recently, coming off a win yesterday as well?
Knights is a team that I think can do anything. Right. Like who knows exactly what's going to come out. There's only so much you can get from what they did yesterday. They have a bunch of flexible players across the board, and I like to think we are as prepared as we can be with what we saw yesterday.
Awesome. Well, good luck to you guys, and I hope you come out on top. Back to you guys on the desk.
Well, they have 7 games of footage to be able to study for that, and I think the thing that's great, and I'm going to say this about Envy and SSG, specifically SSG in this case, but when you have players that are at this mechanical level and they have as many champions that they can flex onto as they do, I feel like that's just a coach's dream, right? It's like I can come in and be like, this is the best draft for you guys, and they can just play it.
Yeah, no, seriously. But I think you can start getting a little crazy. The cool thing is that you saw in Pittsburgh and Renegades the draft start to shift, and we saw that it became clear the Pip was the difference maker.
Yes.
That is not going to be the same level of dominance for Payan today. I don't think you can do that against a team as talented as SSG and get away with it. We saw even Renegades could punish it at times. Payan had great moments on the Pip, but sometimes it didn't work out, and he went away from it for a few games until realizing this is what needed to happen. So I think SSG are going to be very prepared for it. But Payan is a huge instrumental part of this Pittsburgh team.
Yeah, I think, honestly, yesterday his Pip was, the biggest game changer in this map, Warder's Gate. But really, through a lot of the games they were winning, it was when Payan was able to get ahead. Whether it was on Pip or not, it was really the one going for it. I'm actually kind of curious because, when we got predictions for this set during Esports Weekly, most people went SSG. I think after yesterday, most people are still leaning in favor of SSG. Nick had originally wagered the Knights, and I feel like Payan and then one of the other players that we're going to be looking at, which is G-Bunny, I feel like have both brought something to the table that we kind of didn't expect to see out of them coming into the split.
No, I agree. I think Payan and G-Bunny have both been great players. There's no doubt about that in my mind. And I think they, in their own right, are going to battle in this league. They're going to not be a push-over matchup for anyone, save maybe some of these top teams. And I think SSG have shown that they are in a caliber beyond what even Envy, even on a bad day, Envy's going to be difficult to beat. SSG very astutely handled them yesterday. So I have a little bit of a worry that G-Bunny and Payan are going to maybe playing the Renegades and having the challenge in that matchup. Going to have a rude awakening here if SSG continue to play this well. But it will be up to them to make plays and be aggressive. Cuss said, G-Bunny, you're one of the best in the world at doing this role, at the aggressive off-tank. Trust yourself. Go in. We got your back. And if he does that, then they do have a chance.
And honestly, I think the two players we've looked at, like Payan, his matchup is going to be pretty much up against Freeze God. It's going to be who's going to get the blasters, who's going to kind of play that role. Because yesterday we saw Drogo's playing Impact. I don't think I've ever seen Freeze God play Pip, but I imagine they have that somewhere in his pocket. Yeah, you can't really ban through him. Same thing can be said for Payan. And I think G-Bunny is actually going to be going kind of one-on-one in champion pool terms against Sadak with what we have seen. A lot of maybe Ruckus's cons kind of taking that role.
Ash will be big in this matchup. Ash will be huge. Khan will be huge. Pip will be huge, and it will be dealt with game one by SSG in some manner. Whether it's a ban, whether it's the awareness of it and planning for it, it's something Pittsburgh will be looking for and SSG will be prepared for.
I think they have a lot on their plate right now for the Knights, and that's actually one of the things that's been kind of catching my eye. Kresnik seems very happy after yesterday, but we do actually have Vapor able to stand by, the coach here for the Knights, being able to come in and tell us how exactly the team's feeling. Yesterday didn't go the way they wanted, so let's see how they feel today.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much. Now we're down here in the Pittsburgh Knights booth. A lot of black and gold here today. You guys are coming off a win. They're coming off a win. But the caveat to Space Station is that they're brand new to the league. First game was yesterday. So as the coach, how do you get the guys prepared and studied up for a matchup that is brand new to them?
Well, we've been streaming SSG for a very long time. It was very hard that the first match was yesterday, but we learned a lot. We watched the whole game. We prepared very accordingly to it. And just getting them in the right mindset. Like, we know what they do. We know how they play. This meta fits them really well. It's going to be a tough matchup, but I am confident that we're going to do very well versus them.
You say this meta, and then personally, I feel like it has been almost very different set to set, matchup to matchup, team to team. We're seeing a lot of Genos come up. Yesterday, Pip was a big factor for you guys, and even Maeve was coming out from the Renegades. So what can we expect today?
You can expect a lot of things. We're very versatile with our team comps and our play styles, and I think SSG is as well. But I think it's going to vary from game to game, and I think a lot of stuff's going to come out. But the play style is pretty much what the meta is, right? It's like this aggro. You have your off tank, you have your Fletch DPS do a lot of like the going in, the aggression, calculated aggression, and so but. You can do that with a lot of different champions. So we're going to see a lot of like versatility, but that same playstyle, you're probably going to see a lot in today's match.
Pressure is a word that I've been using a lot, and maybe that goes along with the calculated aggression, but it feels like teams under that amount of pressure that they're not really used to, they almost seem like they don't play like themselves. Would you say there's some truth to that?
Yeah, this meta came up kind of out of nowhere. A lot of teams adjusted to it very fast, like we saw VP, we saw Kangda, and then a lot of teams are adjusting to it pretty slowly, I think, like NV. But I think people are starting to get on the right track, and I think the teams and players are starting to figure out what's good, what's bad, and then I still think a lot of teams are figuring out like what is best and like what is, you know, all this versatility and everything like that. It's kind of complex, but I think this meta is very fun to watch, and I think awesome.
Well, thank you so much. Good luck in your games today. Let's get it back to the boys on the desk and get this one rolling.
I like the mentality they have and the way they're approaching this, because one of the things that he mentioned in that interview is not only are things kind of varying from game to game and honestly set to set, like what teams are playing, but you're also looking at this in kind of a very interesting, the meta isn't necessarily solidified, like who you're playing is going to affect what you're banning, and people are still adjusting to playing on LAN all the time. Like, that's not something that they got to do last year. Only a few teams really in the Premier League got to make it to that point, so this is kind of a new experience for everyone. Yeah,
everyone is really like being thrown into the deep end and sinking or swimming, and we've seen some teams sink, we've seen a lot of teams swim, we've seen a lot of teams start lapping each other as well, pulling some Michael Phelps stuff, so you're like, wow, somebody really gets it, and I think that's more of how we feel about NIP and the way they kind of stormed through, like, whoa, where did they come from this good? SSG has the potential to do that again, and a 2-0 start would be phenomenal for them heading into this opener of the season. Remember, it's the new team. They haven't been here since week 4, but this team is essentially a potential world champion. They only lost in Game 7 against Envy last year, and Na'Vi didn't look like they were able to beat either of those teams in that particular tournament. So you have to say that this is potentially the best team that you're going to see this year.
And you can tell they did their homework because they banned out the Ice Mines, which is the only map they lost yesterday.
The 2 champions we talked
Knights
about.
were able to ban out the Fish Market, which was one that we saw SSG dominate Envy on.
Yeah.
But then, again, going into this map, into Jaguar Falls, even more homework done. They get rid of the Pip because they recognize how big that was for Pan yesterday. And they get rid of the Ashe, even though they have that in their wheelhouse. They know how important it is to the Knights as well.
Well, I think they're trying to pressure the Knights champion pool, and the key is that you can't really outban and outpick SSG because of the flexibility. Freeze God played 4 games and he played 5 games. They won 4. He played 5 different champions in each game. Basically every single blaster, and adding a Zen and a Cassie. I mean, what an incredible display of excellence from him. So SSG here now getting one of the old school Makoas, the terrible Makoa players in Sadak, the ones you don't want to see coming at you with that anchor. Because there are some you feel a little easier about when they're playing Makoa. Sadak's not one. And that's one of the most, if not the most aggressive tank in the game. Khan and Cassie going to try to reply to that, but SSG starting off pretty strongly.
A big game Cassie is a good way to try and deal with an Ancient Rage Makoa. You do a pretty good chunk of his health if you can get the nice range you need.
Yeah.
And they grab a comfort pick in Khan for G-Bunny. So I feel like Knights here, this is probably the best way to start off the set, is just saying, yes, we give up the Makoa, but we grab two things that are very big for our team, something that's going to keep us comfortable, but then the immediate response in the Barrack and the Bomb King.
And the Barrack is way better against big game Cassie than the Yanara would be. So they take the preferred frontline tank because Knights already showed their hand on their DPS choices, and then they take the Bomb King because Bomb King's actually better against Yanara. So you have actually two picks there that already tilt things more and more in the favor of SSG. Knights have to kind of bounce back here, and the question is, what does Payan go to? Pip being banned, do you take the EV? Do you rely on the Drogos, knowing a hit scan could show up at any second to round out this draft for SSG?
I mean, Cassie already being on board, Leon's not banned out. She's going to be ever present. We all saw a lot of her yesterday.
You're going to save it.
And I won't be too surprised. But I like the way that they've gone. Bomb King, this is one of his better maps, and like you just said, very strong against Dinara.
Yeah.
And admittedly, while Maldumba isn't, I don't think of it as an immediate counter, he's going to be out of the fight most of the time. Bomb King does a good job of getting to the backline and causing a lot more trouble for those supports.
And you don't even know what support they're taking. This could easily be a Genos Leon here to round out SSG.
The next
Genos,
time you see my
Zenos,
banners,
oh my God,
run.
Genos Zen, but it's going to be the Leon Genos. I was right the first time, the Genos. Man, Zen just combines with a lot of great things. Sha Zen
is a very good one.
Those are all good. And so yeah, it's going to be the Damaged Amp Leon, Bomb King, Barrack, and Makoa. I don't think you could think of 5 better champions to be Damaged Amp than that.
And this is actually one of the things, having Drogos hovered over right here. If the Knights lock this in, this is something we saw a couple weeks ago, actually last week, from Envy. They kept picking up that Drogos, and almost every game Hecate was like, cool, I'll play Leon. Like, we'll just see what we can do. Like, I'm going to take you out of the air if you show your face.
I see calling bluffs in poker, but you're calling bluffs in pretty straightforward 5v5 against one of the best players in the world. And Ares, we talk about Freeze God. Ares was playing fantastic yesterday, so he's going to most likely be on the Leon. I'd watch out. Payan's got to play this one really carefully.
A pretty heavy flex. It was one of those things. He was pretty new to the DPS role when it came into the World Champion, or at least in the qualifiers for it while they were playing. Now he is comfortable, but we have no time left here. Let's go ahead and jump to the casters and get this game started.
Happy Friday afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Dolson alongside me, Pretty Hair in the booth to take you through set number 1. Nick, looking at both sides, we got a little spiciness already coming out. You're getting Freeze God on the Bomb King. You're getting Ares on the Leon. You got the Drogos coming out on the other side. They're waking us up here on this Friday.
I'm excited for this one. Luminary Bomb King on Jack Falls, probably one of the most potent, one of my favorite combinations to watch, but also Luminary Makoa. That's a big old man coming at you with 5,100 HP, hitting for 750 on that weapon as well. The mustache trimmed, clean, looking ready to slay.
First team all mustache on the side of Space Station.
The Battle of the Stash, dude.
The Battle of the Stash, Jaguar Falls. That's right. On the opposite side, which one is more powerful is the question. Both teams coming off a win yesterday, but Space Station looked like the more convincing side, at least right off the bat. Freeze God
is
who
they beat, too, you know what I mean?
Right. I mean, Freeze God, I think I saw more quadra kills in that Drogos game out of Freeze God than I did probably all of the previous week in the PPL.
I think it was like 3 in one game, right?
Yeah.
2 for.
I think he had 2 quadras and a triple or something like that.
Got one as well. Here are the talents guys. Fairly standard stuff. I would say Vortex Grip for G-Bunny on the con is probably a little bit of a break from the norm. Everything else according to plan. I like what I'm seeing from both squads here. I would lean ever so slightly in favor of SSG with this lineup, though. I really, really liked what Sadak was doing yesterday. On the Ashe, he brought out the slug shot, which very quickly translated into top damage on that Splitstone game, and then everyone else is like, ooh, okay. This is a thing. This is a thing that they are doing and we are not. And we need to start as soon as possible here. So with Makoa, one of the most, like I said, bullyable champs. He's got the health of Ashe. He's got an ultimate that can kind of perform the same, like, I'm being aggressive right now. I'm going to hold W and turn my brain off a little bit. And I would say even a better weapon. When you can hit Makoa shots, I think he has the best weapon in the tank class.
We do see some wreckers coming out as well. What's your matchup to kind of watch here in this game? I know the Drogos is kind of something you always have to keep your eye on, especially if you're a backline champion on the side of Space Station. Is that kind of where your eyes go?
I'm looking out for the Drogos because see how close he is to the ground here, playing combustible as well. He's not going to be flying high, out of reach of Bomb King Makoa. So if Sadak and FRZ God can stay pressured on this flying champion, a little bit unlike that. That's Ares. He's the guy on paper that's supposed to be able to do that job, but I'm specifically watching BK and Makoa to see if they're able to help out.
Well, a 1-for-1 to start off this fight so far, but Space Station are the ones who are on the point, and all of Pittsburgh are pretty much blocked off in the back side of this base here. G-Bunny a little bit caught out. The Grumpy Bomb stuns him up, but there's no answer to it. The hook was down, so not much value to be found there, but there's so many low health bars now on the side of the Knights, Nick. Space Station could get aggressive here.
They're just chilling, taking the point while they do this. SSG are in control of the objective, 84%, and continuing to climb north of 90 now, walking it down. G-Bunny just guns down FRZ God.
Yeah, Ricotta answers with one as well, and the Knights find some aggression at the right time. That's a good Dread Serpent as well. Ricotta with 2 now in this fight. It's only down to the lowly Barrack. Rachao is going to fall. And at the perfect time, they didn't have a moment to spare. 96% is where Space Station gets stalled. The Knights now win a fight, and they get on the points themselves.
Phenomenal Dread Serpent there from Cuskcutie, giving that was help for Ricotta across the way. It hit Ares, allow Ricotta just to get that free 1v1. Rolling in though, first point, King Bomb charge, battle shouted out though, not a ton of value. The hook's no good either. G-Bunny gets stuck on the wall, and the Knights will start overtime.
They are going to get aggressive on him this time on the wall. Payan is going to find the first kill in this engagement, and G-Bunny's just staying alive, and he has the focus of 2 members of Space Station. And in the meantime, Ricotta's found 2 kills for himself, and Payan has found 2 kills for himself. G-Bunny just had all eyes turned towards him in that corner, and the rest of the Knights were able to fight in the background.
It's just a bad decision from SSG. They fought into that con for so long and didn't get the kill on top of that. So G-Bunny shouldering a ton of weight for the Pittsburgh Knights in that first point fight. Incredible staying power from him. I'm not sure exactly where Cuskcutie was positioned. I have to imagine G-Bunny was getting the pocket in that situation.
It seemed that way at least. Pittsburgh Knights, well, they were 5 streaked out. Here comes some ultimates too. The action continues from the point fight. Neither team feeling like they need to hold on to their ultimates at the moment. The Enlightenment you saw come out as well. Rachao and Sadak are going to be the 2 on the side of Space Station who are going to find kills, and it looks like they found themselves a good defensive stand here. There's still more minute and 45 seconds left, but the Knights are going to get back, regroup, and get back together into it. Yeah, looking at the slash lines too, you look at Ricotta, he's already 4-1 in this game. Payan is 3-2, G-Bunny is 3-1. The Knights have found their aggression early.
Ricotta's Cassie's honestly been my favorite character from him. I think, for my money, that's what he seems to go to when the situation is dire, and they really feel like they need something, and the guy just hyper carries.
Yeah,
I really feel like he does an incredible job on this character. A very unique guy. I brought this up yesterday, but one of the few dudes who does it from the DPS role, the in-game leading, the shot calling, things like that. He fills a lot of important roles, captain of this squad, as well as the IGL, as well as one of the important DPS players. And I just kind of talked about how that normally goes to a support. It's a guy that doesn't have to be tunnel visioned on his crosshair and focused on hitting every shot. More like a support. Usually it's the support or frontline that does it, that has a more kind of panoramic view of the battlefield, if you will.
It's funny, I was looking at Twitter yesterday. I thought it was Ricotta, but now that I'm thinking it might have been Payan. But one of the guys on the side of the Knights was tweeting back and forth with somebody, and I guess they just realized after like 4 years of playing the game that they had aim acceleration on, which I guess is
Ricotta.
That was Ricotta.
And then Vex chimed in and said,
wait, are you kidding me?
About that.
I mean, he learned how to play with it on. I guess I'm not technically skilled enough to know how it affects you one way or the other, but seemingly one of the only guys in the PPL who actually plays with that on. I thought it was a pretty funny interaction, but making it work.
I could not believe it when I read it. 10 seconds left in the round here. This offense has not gone anywhere, which does not bode well necessarily for the Knights' future here on Jaguar Falls. Typically, when we see a team hold this stalwartly, it means they're in control of the game. I think if they clean up that mistake, aka just like headbutting G-Bunny for a minute and a half and getting nowhere, then they're going to be in a good spot. If FRZ God just like said, all right, I'm done with this, after his first clip and a half and just attacked somebody else, it would have been a very, very different fight.
This is the guy you have to keep your eyes on. Ricotta Ricotta.
Look at that rotation.
Beautiful. That was the Dread Serpent that really opened it up. Not missing a single shot.
It doesn't even look like he called that. It looks like he gets a kill, is moving forward, and then Cuss says, you know, turn around, I got a free one for you here. Serves it up, coast to coast Dread Serpent. Beautiful stuff from the support. That's how a support impacts his gameplay, and that's just a great shot call.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking at his items as well, he's got the Wrecker too. So he'll start to shred through some of those dome shields and through the turtle shield as well on the
barricade, the rocket
side.
boots, bowling ball shield, that's what's going to be most important for him.
That's something to keep an eye on for sure. Pittsburgh Knights are going to be the first ones to get on here. An early Dragon Punch, but who is he going to seek out? He's looking for Makoa. He's not going to find him. He's going to go low. He's going to be able to get out and get to safety. So if nothing else, he finds himself some vision, kind of sees where Space Station are hanging out, but does not find the utility that maybe he was looking for. Some ultimates now starting to get popped through time and space. Finds a little damage, but not any kills just yet.
Ooh, big fear here on FRZ God. Does anyone push him? G-Bunny will feel brave enough to take up that task. Then he flips Barrack away, keeps paying safe. Ancient Rage came out somewhere, Dave, but it only finds one.
Only finds one. Checkerboard kills, as I like to say. Dethroner with a couple. Sadak with one. The tank's getting involved here in this fight, but it's the Knights who come out positionally in the advantage. They're 87% here on the point. And Space Station need to make a push here. Only the Enlightenment ready on their side. Only the Seismic Crash on the side of the Knights as well. Looking purely at a team versus team basis, who wins a point fight here?
I think I like Space Station's suite of ultimates overall a little bit better. FRZ finds two, but I don't like the way they use them in that fight. I don't think they got a ton of value.
Not at least initially, but it helps when you have Freeze God who's pouring out double kills and triple kills like it's his job, and I guess it is his job, but unfortunately he's going to drop there. Now the point fight continues. Ricotta not missing yet again. Dethroner pouring on some kills here on this Inara. The Enlightenment comes out. It is going to clean up Ricotta, but Ares gets stunned up. Oh, but he dashes out, finds some damage. Does not end up getting the kill, but Payan does fall anyway. With overtime ticking away, the Knights capture it again.
Small mistakes
Dethroner at triple.
Finds three on the Inara, hitting them last hits. Great stuff there that almost went awry. Ares dives in, hits the Enlightenment, gets the kill, and then Payan throws one rocket but then looks away because he thought he had the kill. He thought it was wrapped up. Ares goes on to do a lot more damage to him. That, if this went south for the Knights, would have been the turnaround moment, but the triple kill from Dethroner just locked it down.
Ricotta continues his tear as well. Dethroner's been playing so well on this Inara. The Enlightenment's going to come out. But it's not going to find any kills, maybe some damage. Here comes the Dragon Punch. Didn't find any value the first time. Is he going to find something the second time? He's going back around the long route. He finds Mitau, and down he goes. So the Genos on the back end of Through Time and Space gets dropped. But Space Station Gaming are able to push out of their base here, Nick, and it looks like Pittsburgh are on the back foot yet again.
That's such a great exchange for a couple of reasons. So that Dragon Punch is originally intended for the Barrack. Great response there from Mitau to go for the time and space. You just laser beam your own tank. Doesn't hit your teammates, obviously.
Right.
It hits that Dragon and insta-gives him for the follow-up. But Payan outplays it, calls it off, goes for the support instead, gets the kill, and then half the damage on the Ares to follow it up. Beautiful exchange.
Looks like Space Station have this defense figured out. They've not. I think this is the furthest the payload has traveled in the last two rounds. I think it actually ended firmly on the point at the end of the last game. What do you see out of the Knights maybe that they need to change to get this offense moving? They only have a minute left here.
It's more of like, I feel like I want SSG to fight more like this on the objective.
That's true.
I feel like they're a little bit splintered right now. Sadok's died off a couple of times. He's got 9 deaths already. He's kind of been a little off on his own. And Makoa just, I guess in this meta, whatever it is, especially with big game floating around, you know, he's just not quite as tanky as they're probably used to be.
Ricotta nearly gets away on that one, but Sadak, the man, is going to find a double. Freeze God with one in this fight as well. Dethroner getting handed his 3rd death of the round. He was 7-2 just prior to that. Seismic Crash is ready, but only 20 seconds left, and this is a mirror image of what we saw at the end of the last round. The Knights not able to find much offensive ground for themselves. The snipe coming in. We saw Mito yesterday just going to town with this Genos, and he's doing it again here. Certainly scary, not only to apply the buff to your teammates, but when you can find some offensive aggression on a Genos as well, it adds a whole new dynamic to some of these fights.
Honestly, big thing, you can if you're good enough, if you're quick enough, if you're planning it out, you can follow it off a Dredge Anchor pretty damn consistently.
Yeah.
the thing is finding the right dredge anchor target. Nobody's really putting themselves out of position on the Knights side. One other thing is that these King Bombs are more often than not running into a tank, Dave, and I would like to see that go by the tank. Just circumvent the big boy, get to the back line. And because you have Genos with a laser who's ready to take somebody out, you don't have to go hyper deep. You can just like get to the edge of the range of your King Bomb, do minimum damage, but stun as many people as you can, and just set Mitau up. He can be the damage. You don't need the damage from the King Bomb. You need the stun.
Seems like they've been going on to G-Bunny a good bit in that corner.
Only G-Bunny. So like literally anyone besides G-Bunny is going to eat that full duration.
Well, Nick's calling it on anyone but G-Bunny. An early overpower is going to get used here. They are going to find the kill, but here comes the Dread Serpent as well as the Through Time and Space. Pain's a little bit out of position there, but here comes the King Bomb. It finds the Inara this time, but the CC immunity is going to turn that one on its head to Throner. What a nice play, but he ends up getting cleaned up anyway. What a Poppy Bomb there from Freeze God. Cuss Cutie finds one as well. Rakata and Freeze God are both of the carries still left alive here, but Space Station are the ones, Nick, who find the pressure.
Leandro Gomez, he's slippery, boy. You can't lock him down. An incredible movement from that Bomb King to stay alive there and flip the kill onto the Throner. That one definitely hurts, especially when you solo ult that Bomb King and get flipped like that. Great hook. Cuss Cutie gets taken out, but Sadak will lose his life to the punch.
Freeze God trying to hold this one down. Payan answers back to Throner with one as well. Space Station now at 99% are actually kind of on the back foot here with Pittsburgh Knights finding the aggression, but so many low health bars on the red team right now. Are they able to clean up these kills if you're on the side of Space Station? The respawns are starting to come out now. That's a good hook, but Rakata's the one who's going to be getting into the face of Sadak here. Dethroner is going to drop, so that's 10 seconds now where the Inara is not going to be in here contesting this point. They have to lean on the Khan, but he's up in the face of everyone on Space Station right now, and he's going low.
That target swap was so good, but FRZ God does come back to haunt them. Fear comes out onto the barrack. Overtime is started again. This is all in favor of SSG. If this meter expires without a red player nearby, it's going blue.
And it will, with the Throner dropping for the second time, trying to hold his ground there, but was never really going to go in his favor as the only one standing there. So Space Station, Nick, they take a little of your advice. Some high worth ultimates, I think. Fighting on the point certainly better, and they find themselves point number 3 here.
Yeah, it's FRZ God staying alive as many times as he did. They are playing a little bit solo Paladins right now, which it's working for them, so I'm not going to tell them to change it, right? One thing I do want to comment on, though, that I feel the Knights are doing very well, is that you saw Dethroner go low there, and Cassie touched, and then Drogo's touched, and then they bought time because Cuss Cutie wasn't there. They were trying to buy time for like Dethroner to get out of combat and regenerate that way, and it actually paid off for them. Dethroner came back in with a pretty chunky amount of health. G-Bunny's playing phenomenally. The Knights are playing very well right now, but SSG is just on it, and they have such a lethal comp.
That's a good stun, but the King Bomb is going to prevent G-Bunny from finishing off the kill here. FRZ God and Sadak combining for some kills on their side. Dethroner is going to continue his tanky tear through this team fight, but Sadak on the Ancient Turtle is going to be too much for the Knights to deal with. It's down to Dethroner, but he's going to fall. But the fight's not, I mean, that's essentially to get back to the payload here if you're Space Station. You have 1 minute and 15 seconds left. Now the payload's finally starting to move forward. Both teams, Nick, have looked pretty good on the defensive end here.
And I haven't found a clever name for this yet that I like, but when you go offense, and then have to switch gears to defense with the possibility of losing the game, like the Knights are in right now, SSG could just roll this defense over because the Knights haven't had to play defense yet on Jaguar Falls. They got to get it together in one round.
And that was a beautiful hook there from Sadak, pulling Payan in on that Drogas, and he was able to drop. Sadak, though, getting feared up here. There's not really much follow-up, so the Dread Serpent maybe not hitting what they were hoping for on the side of the Knights. Cuss Cutie hit a few targets, but there wasn't really much follow-up on their side. There's 2 members down now. Space Station continue the pressure into the base of the Knights. This one could flip on its head.
Plenty of damage being served up here from Blue. Big ultimates as well. Ancient Rage looks ready and primed to come out. There's the opening pick. They could go for the throat here.
The immunity wears off just as the Grumpy Bomb comes in. Sadak, we've been saying his name a lot in these fights, and he finds another one here as well as Freeze God. Payan goes down in the Dragon Punch. What critical shots there from Freeze God, and he hits them all. He was about to get taken out. It's down just to Dethroner. It's not going to matter. The stun comes out, and the payload goes through.
Wow, what a finish there from SSG. They look electric and lethal on the offense. Only a couple days of practice, but they haven't lost a step. Very, very clean game from them. Very, very good game from the Knights as well.
Say.
These are just 2 very good teams, and I think this one's going to be a war.
Yeah, I mean, you do have to give it to the Knights as well.
They played well.
They found their footing, Space Station did, sort of towards the end of that round, but Pittsburgh held their own throughout that game. They look great, but let's send it back to the desk to break down game one.
There are so many things that went amazingly there for both sides. I want to highlight the one play. I just told it to you, but it was a Dragon Punch from Pan is coming through. It is probably an inch away from killing off Freeze God, which could make a big difference in that last fight. And that last bomb clicks. And that feels very much like what the Knights experienced the entire game, where it's just you're doing really well, but SSG is going to stop you.
Well, you could tell that when the Knights kept capturing, right, there was this level of weird not being able to push that wouldn't necessarily relate to capturing 2 times in a row. And in Paladins, when you see some team capture, then they can't push, it starts to give you an idea that maybe their composition is lacking in some things, and the way they're taking the team fight can be adjusted around. And that's exactly what happened. I felt that Pittsburgh kind of pedaled to the metal on a lot of things. And look at these numbers. 20-10 for Freeze God, 19-11 for Sadak. We said watch out for this guy in Makoa. He made them pay. That's what a first pick Makoa needs to do, and Sadak is one of the best in the business at punishing you for that.
And that was one of the things in round 1, and kind of in round 2 as well. There were a lot of hooks that didn't connect onto their target, and you could see Sadak maybe trying to get back into the flow, try to hit those again, because those missing and then them consequently also playing where Drogo's was going to shine kind of led to them taking fights a lot of the time just running right into a front line every single time. It was G-Bunny who was kind of standing in their face. And after a little bit, Freeze God got very adept at getting rid of the G-Bunny wall.
Well, you know, he had to figure out what to do, because I think there was so much aggression. Look at Dethroner, look at G-Bunny, look at everyone rotating, look at Ricotta. I mean, the Cassie was a great pick, but we also mentioned how SSG, seeing it early, picked a great champion in Barrack. So whenever Sadak got punished, which he did often, Barrack was like, had a wall up, had a rocket boots up, had a way to get around and hide in these corners, and it was much harder for Ricotta to finish both front lines off. Freeze God was under pressure constantly, but one of the adjustments he made was just really picking targets wisely, taking these trades that were favorable for his team, getting some of the front lines off, and then basically saying, okay, you're going to kill me, but I got to give it up to Ares and Sadak now to try and finish this fight off.
The one thing I want to give credit for, the Knights not only being able to take those first 2 points and look contentious against SSG, but I want to give a specific shout out. We highlighted him before the game, but I think it bears worth mentioning. G-Bunny, I think, is incredibly underrated. His con was phenomenal those first 2 rounds, and like even towards the end, I think his kind of control, you could see SSG had to play more around him than anybody else on the Knights.
I think G-Bunny has clearly been a very good con. I think that's one of the things where you saw it in the set that they actually won last week, where they were able to, or maybe it was in the first week, he was saying, get me con. He was excited. The second con came through. He was excited. He knew that was a champion that he needed to play. And it ended up working out. So I think Khan, like I said, Ash, these are going to be 2 big things. How can G-Bunny flex onto Ruckus? That's a thing that I don't know. Because Sadak can do all those champions and Ruckus really well. He also does the Makoa really well. He's pretty much your archetypal aggressive off-tank in the top tier, next to the Phoenix level type player, but just from this different region.
And very much being able to fit things when you ban out something like the Ashe and he is able to grab that Makoa. I don't expect to see that happen twice in a row, but then you have to wonder, okay, well, what if he does get his Ruckus that he's very comfortable on? What if he gets a con that he's comfortable on? Like, Sadak, I think, is going to be putting G-Bunny into an uncomfortable position. And, of course, now going to be second pick, you can see them immediately going for the Makoa ban, because I think everyone, any frontline should have Makoa in their wheelhouse, and if they don't, they're doing something wrong.
And, you know, it's true because he's so old and he's been so established, but, you know, people not being warm on Makoa, that's a different thing. We saw Makoas yesterday actually not really play to the way that they were picked, because a first pick and they go negative in their KD, that shouldn't be happening with the first pick that you have, unless it's an Inara, it's a Barrack, it's a purposeful first pick to allow your draft to do other things. Right now, though, the Ruckus and the Genos ban from the Knights says a lot to me because, again, the champion pool being gone at the most right now is the aggressive off-tank, and they're continuing to shut down Payan on the pip. SSG don't want anything to do with it. They haven't had as much time to prepare for it, honestly. And so they might just say, let's just not play against it.
Unfortunately for them, it does mean Torvald comes through. And I believe Knights have been the only team to play the Torvald. I think that's twice now it's come out in the PPL. And I think it's been both times for the Knights that they've been able to grab it. And the first time around, it was still very much in that Koga-centric kind of, we're going to just Torvald, Genos, do whatever we can, bubble this guy and keep him alive.
Yeah.
They don't have the option to add the Genos onto it, but Torvald plus flank
I wouldn't be surprised
is usually deadly.
I wouldn't be surprised. Ricotta's played Koga quite a bit. We've seen him, you know, take advantage of that in a way that just looks unfair. They don't have the Genos to add to it, but the Tyra is also new. We haven't seen the Tyra shake things up. Aries typically the Tyra player for SSG, and he would have that option in the second draft phase for them. But Knights right now, they're smiling. They know they have the world as their oyster. It's just a matter of who they want to pair it with, and you can wait, too. You could realistically wait here.
And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they want to maybe go back for like their Drogos that they had last game. If they want to get Pan comfortable, you could do Leon Drogos, Cassie Drogos, not right here, but in your overall draft.
Right.
Especially since now you don't have to really worry about the blaster. You know Bomb King's locked in on the other side. And SSG hovered Khan and then switched that out for the Inara. How do you feel about that kind of decision? Do you think the Knights are going to go Torvald Khan?
I think Inara is fine. I think if you basically what they want right now for the Knights is a point tank to allow this Torvald to kind of be a support and roam, right? He's not the point tank. So SSG take what they feel is the most important thing that the Knights are missing, and they take the Cassie Grover. What this does is shuts down any of the kind of Koga ideas, because Cassie's most likely going to get played by Ricotta.
True.
But it could open up a Zen. We know Pan can flex onto that. It could still be a Drogos. It could be an Eevee. We've seen Pan use that to great effect.
So you can see Ying there, and I believe it's at 67% for her win rate. She is someone who has been played just a few times, but mainly by NIP. I think Bird has been the only real player to try and pull her through and make her work to the success that we've seen her. So now we're getting two of them. We have an Andro, we have a Ying. Which one surprises you more, and which one are you more excited to see?
The Androxus surprises me more, absolutely, but it's a good pick. I honestly think that it's just going to be a very tall task for the SSG to truly break through these bubbles and this healing. And just this damage. Inara is very susceptible to big game. Khan, however, is going to have a great option to get rid of Torvald immediately. There's no way for that Grandpa to scuttle back onto the map if he gets overpowered. So Knights are going to have to play this one well, but they've got a great draft.
I expect to see that bubble popping around. More Androxus than anyone else, but I mean, between him, potentially a big game Cassie, that's a lot of damage on the table. Barrick to dance around on the point. Do you think Ying and her healing is going to be enough to offset the damage amp that's going to come out of the Knights?
I think that Ying is going to bring a ton for this team. Freeze God doesn't have the same damage amp, but he's decent against these matchups with Andro and with Cassie. But it's just going to be so hard to do that with passive healing and with the bubbles.
Well, I feel like Wrecker's probably going to be the name of the game for SSG. I'm interested to see who's going to pick it up first, but they have a comp they love. Let's go down the casters and take us through Stone Keep.
Thank you, Gore. Thank you, Evan. Hello, Torvald, my old friend. We come to watch you play again. You were clapping your hands for the Andro coming out, Nick. I know you're excited about it.
Yes, sir.
What do you expect to see out of Pay in this game?
Well, he's going for the Godslayer talent. That's one part of it. Andro is such a fun character to watch. Very marketable guy, too. Very cool, very fun. One of my, top played characters.
You got the lapel pin.
Everybody loves this guy for sure. He just hasn't been in the meta as of late, but that doesn't mean he hasn't ever been in the meta. And that's what makes Andro such a special character, is like, this is like the 1v1 character. This is the character you want to hyper carry your casual games on. Just blow people up, because you can really do some incredibly fun and cool things with this character at this level of play. He's going to hit that reversal. See his dash cooldown, kids? It is back in action. That's the gameplay for Andro. Hitting shots to reduce the cooldown of your reversal, hit your reversal, and then get your dash back.
And while he was getting aggressive there, he found some damage onto the Ying, which I think we were kind of equally surprised to see come out, but unable to clean up the kill. Spacestation found themselves some point presence, but are on the back foot right now. But Freeze God is the one who's now getting aggressive. G-Bunny goes down, as well as Ricotta. 2 now for Freeze God on the Bomb King. You can't let him run rampant, or else this is what's going to happen. And Spacestation with 81% find themselves 3.
Ooh, big counter rotation here. The shot's good for Payan. And that's scary for the Knights, man, as this first payload goes the way of SSG. These Grover comps, you stay close to each other, and you just make an impenetrable little Spartan phalanx there. But the SSG don't have any problems breaking through it, man. They just Bomb King, put the con bomb in front of it, and they went to town.
Think of the movie 300, the guys who were throwing the bombs didn't fare very long against the 300 Spartans. This time, though,
they didn't have Khan in front of them.
They didn't have Freeze God throwing those bombs, but they do have him on the side of Space Station, and he's hitting them all right now. Dethroner kind of just chilling in the corner with these turrets right now. Rashao should be able to clean that up, and he does just that, as well as Ricotta. The Whirlwind comes out as well on the side of the Knights. This could go very firmly in the wrong direction, Nick.
If a Whirlwind falls in the forest and no one's around to hear it, did it actually happen?
Yes, because it's on cooldown.
Oh my God, you're right. Objectively true evidence.
Objectively
here.
true.
The poor tree cannot find any healing there.
We'll say it didn't,
happening
but it did.
a lot, man. That's
Yeah.
like whirlwinds that are just a little bit too late. 360 seismic crash 2 with the style points.
This is a scary Space Station
Oh my.
push here, Nick. They are feeling confident. They wasted no time. Round 1 here on Stone Keep was a 2-minute round, I think, and this was it. Freeze got starting it off on the right foot. He got most of the damage, I think, onto this barrack. Sadoc's the one who cleans it up, but wow.
That's why I love this combination. You just put a big body in front of a world-class Bomb King player. He W keys his way through that entire cluster of a team fight and takes less than 1,000 damage overall.
Right.
It's just like so much happening. Pressure, 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 pressure. SSG charged into that fearlessly, and they were rewarded handsomely.
Look at that, one death only on the side of Space Station. Ares, the lone death in that middle column there. Pan is the one who ended up finding it. So the Knights not able to find what they're looking for here. The Overpower is going to just get rid of Dethroner right off the bat. They don't want to have to deal with that point tank barrack, and now here comes the rest of Freeze God. He finds 2. Can he do it again and find 3? I don't think he's going to have the chance because the Knights are firmly backing off here. 45% for Space Station. Well played to start this off.
I mean, as they should, certainly. This Androxus into Khan matchup, you know, Commander's Grab goes right through reversal. It's a melee type of ability. Things like Pounce and Commander's Grab are not going to stop it. There it is, a nice pick, though. Assassination onto Freeze God. Ying ultimate's burning, and she's gone.
And that's what you need. You need the assassination onto Freeze God. Here comes the ultimate as well. He finds some damage. The kills are going to follow. Well played here from Pan. He's looking for his second in this fight. He does end up getting it. The reversal is going to come out. He finds it. That's 3 now for him. Freeze God's able to answer with 1 back. The Andro with a triple.
Clean, baby. That is the Andro team fight. A little weaving a couple punches in there, some fist weaving. Gets the dash reset as well. King Bomb's going to roll in here. Doesn't like what he sees. Elects to stay on the high ground and take this fight.
Overtime ticking away for both teams at this point. Whoever wins this fight is going to win this point. And down goes Freeze God to start off, and Pan answers back with 1 for himself. Ricotta, though, is the one on the Cassie doing the work. The punches come out, and down goes Richau. You're getting knocked out of this one, and the Knights find themselves on the board.
It's a big part of it. I mean, in the first round, you don't see a whole lot of Torvald plus something else. There was so much pressure put on them so quickly that the Knights never really got a chance to leverage their win condition, which is Torvald bubbles somebody and they get aggressive. Now, that was just a different story this round. There was multiple bubbles on the Pan, who also kind of found an assassination, went to the high ground, snuck up on Emperor Z-God, and caught him looking.
At the beginning of this round, there was a single kill on the side of the Knights. Pan now with 7 in this game, so he's found 6 here. You can tell he's starting to feel himself on this Andro a little bit. Overextends just a touch there in that moment. But
and one other fun thing to talk about with this matchup is Ying is in this game.
That's true.
And the way that Andro works is kind of what I was telling you guys.
That feeling, wow.
Hits the reversal, gets your dash back. That's the gameplay for Androxus. Hitting a Ying clone counts as hitting a player, so you can hit these very easy stationary targets and get free dashes back. So that's going to make Pan's job a little bit easier.
Oh, that is so annoying. They finally killed Ricotta, but he was able to heal up through essentially 3 separate engagements right there. It's a 2 for 2 at the moment, but remember, this fight's just to get back onto the payload right now. So Pittsburgh not really finding a lot of good push coming out on their side just yet. But what did you see in that point fight? Because the Knights looked great in that point fight where Pan was kind of able to play freely. What did you kind of see that allowed him to do that?
Just not dying immediately. And part of that was the overpower comes out first things first. And I believe they killed Cuscu. They killed somebody else as well.
Right.
But it's just a hard black and white clean disengage there. The Knights are like, okay, this is over. Let's disengage. We have comeback mechanic. Let's just try again later. We have all of our ults. We'll just work for a good team fight here. Nice ult to the back line. Missing largely all of it, though. Ares dances around the tree and stays alive.
Well played around the tree there, blocking off the accursed arm damage. Freeze God is going to be the one, wouldn't you guess it, to find 2 to start off this fight. If it's not him, who's it going to be? He does end up going down to G-Bunny, though. Sadocto is going to pick up right where he left off. He spies out a Torvald shielded Ricotta. Be careful, though. That's a lot of damage coming from the Cassie, but 8 seconds left. Looks like Space Station have found themselves a defense.
Problem is here is that was not a very convincing offensive attempt there from the Knights. So I'm a little bit worried for them going into this final round. Almost every ultimate charged for Space Station as well. The only one not up is Mitau's Illusory Rift healing ultimate, and that's a very, very quick to charge ultimate. Almost in the realm of like that pit bolt that could be up twice in a fight if it goes on long enough.
Aries, the man himself, he was playing out of his mind on the Leon yesterday. Doing the same here today. It seems to be just one of the two. It's either Aries starting off the fight with a double or Freeze God finding one for himself. So either of the two of them putting themselves in a position to kind of carry the game from where they're at. Space Station in a wonderful position here, though. They're up 3-1. They have the ultimates on their side. They're not really playing with their backs against the wall at the moment, and I think that's scary.
Cuss-Cutie's Grover has done more damage than FRZ God's Bomb King.
That actually is surprising. I mean,
that is insane to me.
He's been getting a lot of last hits, I guess is what that means. But also on the opposite side, you got to give credit to Cuss-Cutie because he's supplying some needed damage for the Knights.
There it is. Overpower comes out, but Sadak blown up through it. He saves the life of what I assume would have been Torvald, and now that's 2 free kills for the Knights.
Yeah, watch out. Pain and Rakata starting to get rolling. That's 2 for the Andro in this one, but Freeze God is back, but it's not going to matter. Cuss-Cutie continuing his damage reign, and Freeze God goes down in that one, and Pain, he keeps himself alive. The fast cap goes through. 2-3 now for the Knights.
You know what I was going to say is that barring catastrophic failure with also having the ultimate advantage, I'm looking at the suite of ultimates here from the Knights versus SSG, and I'm like, dude, SSG's ults just blow the Knights ults out of the water. I mean, we've seen Whirlwind fall flat on its face. A Cursed Arm is very hard to get full value for. Scout is Scout. Hyper Beam sucks on Stone Keep outside of the end of the payload push.
Sure.
Dome Shield's good, but Dome Shield is very much like time to stay here for a little bit longer, hope it pays off. It's like versus King Bomb, Enlightenment, Seismic Crash, Illusory Rift, Overpower. It's like all those are so much easier to get value for than anything the Knights are working on.
Yeah, but it looks like they just didn't have the chance really to use them. I think the Knights just surprised them with how aggressive they played at the start of that point fight. And they just didn't get the chance to use it. They used it on the back end to start off the defense for themselves and did end up finding some kills. That's the reset that you're seeing here, but watch out. A few kills could start rolling in the favor of the Knights, and this payload could get moving. The punch to the back of the head of Aries is going to seal a double here for Pain, and the Andros looking good.
Should we get an admin? Is that against the rules? That's a rabbit punch right there.
Yeah, right.
Toxic Pain.
Toxic, dude.
Definitely. Commanders grab that. He's not going to get too aggressive in this scenario. One thing that FRZ has been doing well is that you can take that reversal on the chin if it doesn't kill you, which last time it did. And if you're timing a bomb, if a bomb is flying through the air at Andro right as the reversal's falling, you can get a free auto attack on him. Most of the time, that's upwards of half of his health almost. So you can have a pretty good matchup against this Roxas, but with a free pick from a Cursed Arm, the Knights might push this one.
And that one actually looked really good. Some of the Cursed Arm damage had been going a little wide this time. The wall has got him pinned in the corner, though. The Inara is going to go down shortly, but the Illusory Rift is going to come out and actually end up topping a lot of them off. Sadak, Freeze God, Rashao, all finding kills for themselves in this one, and the Knights are falling 1, 2, 3 in a row. And then we have 20 seconds left to get it back together.
That Illusory Rift got just enough value, I feel. Cauterize is starting to come online for everyone in this game. Almost everyone who has bought an offensive item has gotten to the level 3. I feel like if they wanted to, they already have at this point. You can see the Throner kind of transitioning into a little rejuve too, a little resilience too, utility items. This overtime is going to decide a lot for the fate of this game. Make sure you're watching how these ultimates get used.
The Grumpy Bomb finds a stun onto Pan, but not wanting to keep their heads around the corner. Our Space Station, you said it, Nick. There's 4 ultimates up for either side, but which are the ones that are going to start to get popped? 1 for 1 so far. 2 of the snipery champions on either teams are going to be the ones to go down, but Pan's found the flank around the backside, and Sadak is going to be the one who ends up falling on the side of Space Station. Pan now trying to get aggressive onto Freeze God, but he doesn't hit as many shots as Freeze God does. Down goes Pan, and the damage now is turning onto the blue team.
They need to get a kill. This is such a good spot for Grover. It sucks everywhere but the end of the payload push, ladies and gentlemen, and G-Bunny finds 2 critical ones.
2 looking for 3 to end off this fight. Dethroner's going to be the one to do it. The payload's getting pushed through. That was a wild hyper beam. That saved the fight. For a moment, I thought he accidentally poppy bombed himself off the map, but it was the hyper beam. Well played there from the Knights. You called it. You said, let's see how these teams use their ultimates. Don't think the Knights waited just for the right time, and it paid off big time.
I mean, Hyper Beam, it's that spot. It's easy to forget about because Torvald is 99% pick ban rate, and I think it was like 60-something of that or 70-something of that was banned.
Yeah.
He is banned out all the time. And you just kind of forget about that, but that is the spot. That's what I was referring to when I said it sucks everywhere, but right at the end, you get in that little nook, right the left of the staircase, right here. He gets in that little nook, and that's the perfect angle to just throw everybody into the dirt.
Got ultimate value out of the Hyper Beam to end that last round. 3-3 it is here on Stone Keep. The Knights are going to be the ones to get the first touch here. The Overpower is going to come out. Down is going to go to Throner. And here's the Illusory Rift as well. Sadak gets answered back on. The Accursed Arm. Can he find the damage? Nice Enlightenment blocks out most of the damage, and it finds the target as well. Whoa. Here's the King Bomb. He's going to find two as Freeze God. He's flipping this fight on his head. Ricotta's going to be the next to fall. The Knights are back.
Oh my, Ricotta got lost there. He looked for Bomb King and just did not find him. Almost a full spin. Nice movement here from Cuss, but FRZ God tracks him down in the air.
Who else would you lean on to carry a fight but besides FRZ God? He had 3 in this one. Dethroner's going to drop down the Dome Shield. He's super low, though. 1 for 1 to start off this fight. 96%. Dethroner does end up getting cleaned up. Sadak is the man who finds 2. He's looking for 3. It's only the Torvald shield that's on him right now, and it's only Torvald and the Andro that are left to defend. But Mito, Freeze God are going to be the ones to combine for it. Space Station clean it up and make it 4-3.
Big battle shout as well. SSG go back-to-back the first 2 maps. So they take not only their map pick, but they take the Knights as well, which sets the tone for this set. That it doesn't matter where your best foot forward is, we can handle it.
No, and again, I have to say, you have to congratulate the Knights. They looked actually really good. Unfortunately, just falling a little bit short here in map number 2. Space Station claim it 2-0. Let's send it back to the desk.
Well, another 4-3 for SSG, just like yesterday. Although this time I feel like we're seeing a lot more signs of life out of the Knights than we got to truly see, playing more to their full potential.
Best
and
of 7
specifically, I want
to
to say, Pan looked amazing on that Andro.
He did.
Except for that last play where he ran straight into a King Bomb.
That's true.
We'll glance over that one in favor of all the other plays that he made.
He just kind of jumped the gun a little bit there, and the pace of the team fight was set really well by the Con Overpower. Dethroner gets lost immediately, can't use the Dome Shield, and unfortunately that really was what set the tone for that fight. He then goes to Accursed Arm, but before that he reversals, and I think they spot that out. So what Ares does is, as he's in the air, he just hides behind the tree and then Enlightenments. Much bigger hitbox, by the way, on the Enlightenments than the Accursed Arm, real true lethality. And then he's down. He's trying to run away from the line of sight of Leon, goes right into a King Bomb. That's the synergy that's really hard to talk about because it's something that happens when a team knows how to play off each other.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like an improv troupe where you throw one and then somebody knocks it out of the park with a great joke, a great reaction. FRZ God really just came in at the perfect time.
Well, I think we were highlighting both of them throughout all of that, but I feel like Freeze God and Sadak together were really working in tandem in game 1. They're working a lot in tandem in this game. Actually, at the very beginning, it was cool. Now, not only do we have Freeze God comfortable on the Bomb King because he's played it 2 games in a row, but we're just going to put Khan in front of him, and what are you going to do? How are you going to get to him?
Talk about the value on that. That hit 4 people. The only reason Cuss didn't die is because he was CC immune. And he was literally healing himself for like a bajillion health every 0.1 seconds. But then he gets taken down anyways. The Grumpy Bomb there was just perfect because at 99, that's what Bomb King brings. He adds pressure. You throw that stun out there, you have to run away. I don't care how good of a player you are, you will die if you stay in the stun. And that just allows freedom of movement for Space Station Gaming to attack.
There was a lot of pressure coming down from Pan, but I feel like Freeze God was able to alleviate it sometimes. But Middow did a good job on his own just staying alive, using kind of his dimensional rift, teleporting around, doing whatever he can.
He was fantastic.
There were certain moments where, in fact, most of the moments early on in the nights when they were winning their rounds where we got rid of either Freeze God or Middow first. And whichever one, it just made it a little bit easier of a fight to move on from there.
You know what, Gore? Here's the thing that we don't talk about Brazil having the upper hand and Latin America having the upper hand. We always used to kind of like say, oh, look, Sarah's getting played, she's not top tier. Ying getting played, she's not top tier. That is their biggest strength now. Do you think it's harder to learn how to play Ying at 100%, at 100% level or Genos? I mean, These guys can flex onto Genos, no problem. Flexing onto Ying and bringing out the level of distraction, of smart, illusory rift, and obviously dimensional linking that he was bringing to the table, it's not something Knights can easily match. And even Cuss, not the most storied Ying player, obviously can do the job, but MGTOW brings it at this high level.
Yeah.
And that's just one of the benefits of their background, loving those two kind of off healers for so long. They can be utilized. And
I think, again, and this is probably something I can already hear Kresnik attesting to if we ever get to talk, or if I ever get to ask him this, but it's a coach's dream to be able to say, hey guys, I think Ying would be here, and they just go, yeah, we can do that. Like, we can run that, and we can play it not only at this level, but we can make other teams, like the Knights after this, maybe even Envy, maybe Na'Vi, who are watching this set are going to be like, maybe we should start looking at Ying.
I think Pip is really the only thing SSG haven't really shown.
Yeah,
and that's the one thing that the Knights are really deadly with, which is why they keep banning it out. And I think it's smart from SSG, and they're saying we'd rather play against your Torvald, whatever, and basically have the Knights. One of the interesting things to note, though, a lot of times we've seen Torvald succeed. They get Torvald, they get Genos. We've seen Tyra in the mix.
Yeah.
We just saw Torvald last time. SSG weren't scared. Here's the big question, though. Do you give Torvald again and roll the dice, or do you ban Pip?
You can only roll doubles so many times before before it goes against you.
At some point, no matter how good you roll, it ends. So they leave both open.
They leave both open. They get rid of the con, which I think is appropriate. I feel like if you're looking at Overpower and Hyper Beam, in my mind, both of them are, I'm going to try to push you into the fidget spinner or the lava, wherever I happen to be. And I feel like it's a lot easier to dodge a Hyper Beam, and it's a lot easier to itemize against a Torvald. The last note I wrote down for the last game was just pop the bubble. That's the name of the game once you get to late game Torvald. It's just, as long as you get rid of that, you get rid of the pressure.
It's a big change. It used to last, all the effects, the damage amp, even the CC immunity and things like that that were granted for, back in the old days of Thanks Grandpa. Oh man, that initial legendary. My goodness
some people
gracious.
Just had some really, really dark flashbacks.
Kret just had to do something and just like change. He just was going through a dark time in life. He had to try to make sure everybody else
Form
did that
up and
Paladins
follow me
as well. But I think SSG here, going for the Eevee and the Ashe, it's a strong starting point for them. It puts G-Bunny on the back foot. That's really what they're doing. And it's kind of smart, man. I mean, they've really targeted G-Bunny. They say, we don't care what Ricotta gets. He get Cassie every game. We don't care what Pan gets. Take a Torvald. We're going, take a Pip. We're just going to make sure G-Bunny doesn't get a comfortable Ashe or Con.
And being able to look at the Ruckus getting banned out. Again, I haven't necessarily seen G-Bunny run it, knowing that's more of a Sadak targeted ban from the Knights, but that takes something away from G-Bunny that even he could try to flex to. Yeah. You get rid of the Con, you get rid of Makoa, you grab the Ashe. There's really not much for him to flex onto at that point. Maybe playing the Torvald for the bubbles, but his effect, his presence is no longer felt as that support. Ashe, Eevee, both very good on this map as showcased yesterday.
Yeah.
Leon and Nara, so very good point presence, very good bubble presence. And they take away probably one of the most efficient poppers of the bubble, like a giant needle, which is Leon.
Yeah, Leon would be a good counter to that. I don't know what SSG are doing in this lineup. I think they're going to count on that last pick to give them something a little bit special. We obviously know FRZ guy will be on the Eevee, so it's now in the Ares champion pool. And one of the things that we saw yesterday that he brought out was the Maeve. And it's very possible that they try to shut down whatever could be going on. They actually call the Pip bluff, and it is truly a bluff. Knights aren't going to go for it. They'd rather have the Torvald Andro here with the Leon. And now SSG feeling that probably a little bit better that devastating Pip from yesterday will not be against them.
And Saris being hovered over. This is something we've seen a few times throughout the league, but she's not necessarily number one. Normally Maldamba is up there. Maybe Genos, but since Genos is banned away, had to reach a little deeper. But they opt for Grover, which I think we've seen more successful on this map, but it does kind of force your play style.
It definitely does. He's a big target as well. It's going to be hard to miss him, but he's got mobility. That's one of the biggest things. Ares just going to go for the Cassie, and I think this is strong. Honestly, against the Inara, it's a really nice matchup, and they've been basically playing against it on Ricotta's side. So I think that there's some strength to this. It's a little bit more of a blander lineup, but I think it's successful. Knights, though, have that Torvald, Leon, Andro. That could be scary, man. Could get out of hand.
I think if you swap the Cassie for Leon here, I mean, this is almost identical to what they played yesterday when they were up against Envy for SSG. Like, it's just, like you said, it's very bland, but it's very, we're playing Splitstone Corey. Yeah. What do you expect from us?
The only spice is FRZ God's Eevee, and honestly, looking at how it was dominant yesterday, that's going to be hard enough for these two teams to stop.
A lot of pressure, I think, going to be coming down from there. Do you think Torvald and Andro is going to be enough on this map to stop that pressure, or do you think there's going to be a lot of danger?
I think it will, but the problem is how much time can FRZ got buy to where, you know, they have to deal with the Cassie who's now shooting an Nara with big game. That's going to be the issue. I think they're going to have to 1-2 punch them, and if they do, Knights could be in trouble.
Well, Space Station Gaming have a lot on their plates. Love the Barrack, I love the Ashe, I love the Eevee, I love the Cassie. How do you feel? I want to just dive into Grover on this map. Kind of forces you to play in a very specific area on the map. Doesn't save Androxus as much.
I think the key is the CC. If you can bring the cripple to an actual effective point to where FRZ God is blinking in and then getting crippled and he can't blink out, or vice versa, you're just shutting down his movement, this could be huge for them.
Well, SSG is up 2-0, but the Knights have been keeping them on their toes every single step of the way. Can Splitstone Quarry be the map they take? We'll have to go down to Dave and Nick to find out.
Thank you, guys. Game 3 about to get underway here. And Nick, I think this is a must-win if you're on the side of the Knights. I think if you go down 3-0, it's going to be a tough one to come back from. Although I say that, and they came back from it yesterday to win, so I shouldn't say that.
3-1.
But you're right, a 3-1.
Not quite the same
Right, not
thing.
quite.
Close.
You're right. You're right.
Close.
It's a little different. They kind of pose the question on the desk. You see the Andro, Torvald again, and then the opposite side, though, you get FRZ God on the Eevee. What do you think about going back to Torvald Andro after it didn't really work out for you in the last game?
It's performance driven. So yesterday it was very critical that FRZ God beat Random Noob Zin in the 1v1. Beating a Andro Torvald is very, very hard. This is a hit scan character. This is an incredibly good player. He is going to be right. He's kind of commanding this fight. He's walking down this Eevee, and Ricotta finds the rotation. I don't even know where he came from.
Yeah, it's a lot to look down, a lot to burst if you're an Eevee. That's an old switcheroo. Don't forget it. The Knights are actually with their back to the red team base right now. Pan needing to continue that, though. He needs to keep finding that Eevee, keep him out of the hair of the Leon, of the rest of the Space Station, or of the Pittsburgh, excuse me, lineup. Doing a good job of it so far.
They're playing Shattered Desert right now.
That's right, the roundabout.
It's nice rotations, and you can tell it's throwing SSG off a little bit, but now their feet are firmly planted under them. Kills coming through for SSG, and the ice block, scary stuff, but he lives.
Good job there from FRZ God, finding some chunk damage, but not biting off more than he can chew. Space Station are the ones, actually, who are firmly on the point here. It's up to Pan to try to pick off this Eevee now. He does so much damage, nearly drops him, but Ricotta's there yet again to drop FRZ God, but overtime ticking away here. The Knights need to make a move.
Wow, Pan gets blown up there. Midtown credited with the kill. Trying to get everyone topped off here. Ricotta with an aggressive jump in, but Ares just doesn't get the call. No communication. Enlightenment's ready. Doesn't even need it. He'll go to a triple kill. Ricotta looking for 4.
Looking for 4. He might get 4. The Ashe in the back line here. It's going to be the unofficial. Oh, no. The Throner steals it away. We'll give it to him, though. 4 kills in this fight for the Leon. And that was some good aggression there from the Knights. And they just went. They found one single pick onto FRZ God, and that gave them the room, I think, to really feel comfortable pushing for the rest.
I don't think we get it twisted here. I mean, that was a risk from Ricotta, right?
It was.
It was probably everyone's called out that they're low, they're low, they're low. Ricotta says, all right, I'm rolling the dice here. He dropped down, full commit, and nobody was looking at it.
Right.
And you could see, communication just didn't happen fast enough. I don't know if it happened at all, but it did not happen fast enough. Ares just got shot in the back of the head like 3 or 4 times, never even turned around, and Ricotta is able to take it and run with it.
Ricotta cleans up the rest, but it's Rochelle on the Barrack instead who's going to be the one taking this fight. Ricotta, though, still in the back line, finally gets sniffed out from Space Station. This Inara Dethroner is essentially deep in the base here, just blocking him out. He's going to get staggered out a little bit. But the Knights look like they're playing their comp a lot better than they did on Stone Keep, Nick.
This is just sad. Knocking him back, disengage into the kinetic burst.
Hey, we saw this, well, though it's not a grok, so I was going to say we saw it get turned around. Wait, it's going to get turned around. He does end up falling anyway. Pan and Freeze God are going to be the 2 who find the fight here, but he's alive to get the seismic crash off. That's kind of what you have to look at if this goes in the way of the Pittsburgh Knights. Pan continuing his tear, finds FRZ God. Can he find Ares? Oh, no, he can. Midtown, nice kill there onto Pan. And Space Station Gaming stop the bleeding.
You could see the frustration on Payan's face, the stun out of left field for Midtown. The supports are getting involved. It definitely takes a village to win a PPL game here. Everyone has got to contribute.
stressed, Nick. This game stresses me out.
A lot of work. It ain't easy.
No, you're right. There's so many different moving pieces. Everyone's playing their role. Really flying around the map here on this Andro. He's been finding the damage that he's been looking for. He's been doing his job. I think FRZ God has been, I mean, his damage is, you know, on the lower end of the chart here, but I think he's been doing an admirable job. You said it at the beginning of the round. That's a hard stack to deal with, the Andro and the Torvald. I think FRZ God has been doing an okay job at it so far.
Nice whirlwind here from Cuscuity to keep the glue together, but the triple stun on the Assert Dominance is good for all three. Sadak just shuts it down, says this is not going into overtime. Gentlemen, we are headed to the next one.
And headed we are. Pittsburgh Knights needing a win here. They've been so close in our first two games up to this point. Ricotta on the Leon continuing what is a strong performance from yesterday, also on the Leon, and this is kind of what you were saying. You get in behind, you find the triple, and now you have the advantage. You can just continue the pressure. Sadak be the fourth to fall. The Threnor steals it away.
2 for 1 on the
well
presence as well. Gets the full cooldown. You see that Heraldry 5 card hitting an enemy with presence reduces the cooldown. Hit 2 enemies. You're getting 15 seconds off of the cooldown, which is not, surprise, 15 seconds long. So it's the full reset. You get it back instantaneously. That means 400 more health if you cast it again. Ricotta, I think, casted it 3 times in that engagement. And that's why I commented on this yesterday. I was very surprised to see Ares not running that card, because it is a huge part of Leon's kit and playstyle in this meta.
Yep.
And by proxy, a large part of her sustain.
Watch out, though. The Dread Serpent and the Ice Storm are going to combine for some fears and some damage on the side of Space Station, and they're playing it so well right now. But here comes Ricotta again on the Leon. He finds 2. He's looking for his 3rd. Gets the damage, doesn't get the kill. But what matters is Rachao did end up falling anyway. Now it's just down to the Ashe. She's the last one here. And Pittsburgh Knights turn the fight around.
I think the big thing here is the Knights are just not afraid to get aggressive, to play this map like no one has played it before. They're making rotations with their Grover, and they're all staying within arm's reach of Grover, making him back to where I wanted to see him, an impactful support, you know what I mean? Where he's not just sitting there single target healing someone the whole time.
Right. Playing around him. The Accursed Arm did come out. It did find some damage. 87% now for the Knights. Space Station are actually the ones who are trying to retake here. The reversal comes out. No damage, though, but Freeze God is going to tear off that Torvald shield. And now there are a couple kills starting to roll. The damage dealers are down on the side of the Knights. Freeze God drops Cuscuity off a missed vine. Torvald's going to be the double kill. Inara could make a triple, but what matters is Space Station with 81% and a triple kill here for FRZ God on the Eevee.
I mean, the target prioritization, he had those easy targets the whole time, but he's going for these coast-to-coast shots on Androxus because he knows, if I take out this guy, how are they going to kill any of us? It doesn't matter who's left after he falls, so gets the kill on Andro, and then it's just fish in a barrel for Eevee.
Ares drops the Leon as well. Those are easily the last 2 people that you want to die to start off a fight. Unfortunately for the Knights, it was the first 2. Here comes the Assert Dominance. Oh, it got canceled out. That was a nice silence there from Torvald. Cancels out the Assert Dominance, and it's the Knights who find themselves 4 kills here. Cuscuity with a couple, Payan with a couple, Dethroner with 1. But still back on cooldown here is the Assert Dominance, so a little bit of a lateral move there for the Ashe. I don't think he'll be too sad that it got reset, but Ares with 2 now, though, and this could start steamrolling in the wrong direction, Nick.
Where did that come from? Out of nowhere, the Enlightenment finds a second. Ricotta, he makes this fight a worthwhile endeavor. Return on investment here for the Knights. They will die for this, but make no mistake about it. They do buy time, burn time off the clock. They're also taking this fight so far away from the payload.
Yeah, that's true.
Is why this is valuable. Even if they lose, it takes so long, and cooldown rotations have to come through for SSG to even get back in position to start pushing.
That's arguably not even the hard part to push here on Splitstone, Corey. They're fighting back in their own base. So now you enter the Pittsburgh Knights base, which, you know, some would say is the harder place to fight. Ooh, that's a nice spear, though, and they do clean him up. Well played from the Dread Serpent, just targeting out Payan. He knew that FRZ God was in some danger, but Ricotta is going to even out this fight. Ares, though, is going to tilt it back in Space Station's favor. Oh no, the axe!
Ooh,
oh, he gets it!
Cuscuity tracking it down, my man. He's still got the legs. He may be a little bit older than some of these guys, but my goodness, the boy can move when he wants to.
These teams are fighting tooth and nail for every single point that's happening in this game. If it's one team on the point, it's the other team on the defense, and get flipped on its head. Space Station, who are up 2-0 here, but the Knights have not let it go very easily. The reversal's going to find one. 20 seconds left here on the defense.
That's such a funny moment to me because, like, how many times, like, playing games with your friends is, oh, he's won. Go around the corner, he's like 75%.
Yeah, right.
You're like, what's up?
That's just,
and
that's saving face.
He's like, there's no way for me to really explain this in time. Let me just go do it myself. And we were wondering how his damage was so high on this Grover, and I think we have our answer.
He is hitting the axes.
He's 3K behind.
He's 3K behind FRZ God. That's an impactful Grover, to say the least. The Accursed Arm, with the help of the Torvald Bubble, is going to find some extra damage onto the side of Space Station. Here it is, the final fight with overtime ticking away. Rochelle falling at the hands of Payan on the Andro. That's going to stall things out a little bit for Space Station, but the gank is coming in here, and Ares didn't expect it. Payan is through, and down goes Ares. Pittsburgh Knights find themselves a crucial 2 kills, make it 3, and this one's stalled out firmly.
I think Andro's gun is somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 to 1300 DPS. So when you throw, the extra 30% on top, he's gunning upwards of 1500. So he is blowing people up, even if it's Barrett, right? Rochelle doesn't almost even react to the pressure coming out from this Andro. If it can run away with it, it can certainly run away with it, but so can EV, so can SSG. That's why this game is so fun to watch, because any one of these teams can just explode at any moment and take it over.
Wouldn't you guess it? We're back to a 2-2. Wouldn't be surprised to see a 3-3 as well. Neither of these teams really, honestly, standing ahead over anyone else. I think we would have expected Space Station to come out to a much faster, a much wider gap here from the Knights, but the Knights are looking phenomenal. Like I said, fighting tooth and nail for every point here. Some resilience is coming out.
Little deft hands for the boys.
Deft hands as well.
Shout outs, shout outs. Big rotation again, lava side, as the Knights have done every round. FRZ just needs to stay alive.
Hit me with those extra stuns, and it pays off, at least initially. Mittal.
Wait, yeah, is that why?
Payan.
I was going to say, where did Payan go?
FRZ, he got stunned up and killed.
Clearly gets a bad blink and soar, like a panic soar, runs into the wall a little bit, but never takes any damage. I was like, that's kind of weird. Where was Andro? He was right there. He was ready.
The deft hands Maldamba is where he is.
Give me a replay of that.
Well, look, Space Station Gaming, though, 87%. They're the ones who are on the point. The Dread Serpent as well. Ricotta pulls out the Enlightenment, doesn't find the damage, and he's at 400 health here. The Whirlwind's going to start topping off the Knights, so he's going to get in that healing ring and find himself a topped off health bar. But now the kills are starting to roll. Blue, G-Bunny with 1, and Payan's getting aggressive, and this could go very bad for Space Station.
Yeah, I mean, goodness gracious, 87% for SSG, but Pittsburgh Knights coming roaring back, already at 50, and they have pressure, and this fight's already kind of been won. If anybody else goes down, this one's signed, sealed, and delivered, and if it's not already.
I'm yours.
Yeah. This payload ready to give itself to the Knights. RZ looks like he got the touch, I think
he did. The punch, though, comes out. Rochelle, that's a big loss. Your point tank, the guy who's going to be contesting a lot of that, and the Ice Storm as well, though. It's going to find some damage. It's 1 for 1 to start this off, but that's all they needed. They had Rochelle down, as well as Sadak was low enough, and he wasn't able to contest. It was just down to the back line. And the Knights back on the offensive push here with the game to win.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't know if SSG win that fight anyway. If they can keep everyone alive there on the front side. Inara, Leon, and Grover. Like, that is the skeleton crew of the composition, but it can certainly still get a job done, win a fight, to be sure. Up over the top. Scraping the skybox here. Hey, and looking for the airstrike from up above.
Not wanting to give an inch here. Is Space Station Gaming. Payan just trying to weasel out, misses a couple punches. The reversal comes out, though. Well, but the Torvald Bubble, that's going to top him off, as well as the Grover healing. And now he's getting aggressive in here onto Ricotta. The Whirlwind comes out as well.
That's Torvald, kids.
Yep.
How many reversals, how many shots does Payan miss there and not die and not get punished for that? That is what Torvald does. Payan misses, frankly, a lot. You got to call it out a little bit. He makes a lot of mistakes in that engagement, but still doesn't die until his 3rd attempt at going in to kill somebody.
He gets off just enough damage to almost make it worth it, because his team then finds some kills on the back end. He falls again. Space Station, don't get it twisted. They're on the defensive end right now. They're not pushing the payload, except backwards, back into the point here. 13-8 for FRZ God. 1 carrying Space Station Gaming at the moment. Ricotta 15-5. 12-14 though for Payan. I think that's kind of on the back end of him getting hyper aggressive in some of these fights.
That's a nice, juicy little presence onto 2, 1100 up top. Payne can track some of this down, and he calls it off. Maybe a little bit gun-shy after the way that last engagement went. He's dying a lot. He's getting some kills for sure, but he is certainly turning his brain off at some of these moments and just going in and hoping that it goes his way.
That's that Andro playstyle.
Yes,
the
sir.
Torvald bubble. He just fly in and try to find the damage, and he's finding a lot of it onto Sadak, who's going to shoulder bash out to safety. 20 seconds left here on the payload push. 3 ultimates, 4 ultimates make it up for Space Station. Here comes a lot, though, on the side of Pittsburgh. The Seismic Crash comes out as well as the Enlightenment. The reversal is good for some damage, but not going to find any kill. If he can clean up this Dama, that'll actually be big, but it's not going to matter. Space Station wiping the fight on the back end. Pittsburgh Knights are on the back foot.
Damn.
Hey, another 3-3.
With plenty of ultimates there, SSG used the Assert Dominance, which has been the show-stopping defensive ultimate for them in both of their defenses this game. But the Knights use Enlightenment, and they use Whirlwind. Not the worst things not to have, but it's definitely a big part of your team fight. And they're going to struggle, I think, man. They're running low on resources here. The Accursed Arm and the Hyper Beam has been virtually a non-factor. G-Bunny has not gotten to a great spot to use it. And again, it's the conversation of Stone Keep, but inverse. It's only good on the point. You try to get in the sawmill, like kind of where that ramp is, and you try to knock people from the objective into the fidget spinner.
Yeah.
But it's very difficult because Hyper Beam has a lot of lift to it as well as knockback. So if you beam them the whole time, they'll just get lifted above it.
Right.
So you have to get them just enough knockback and then pull off the target for them to fall into it. It's very tricky, and that's why you don't see it happen very often.
He's going to continue placing the shields here onto Payan, though. Now there's the Ice Storm as well. Up onto the high ground, not finding the damage, though. But who is finding the damage is Payan. No kills, though, coming out for him just yet. The reversal is going to scrape up some members of Space Station, 33%. Oh, that's a nice Dread Serpent. Can they clean him up? Ares not making a mistake of it. He's going to drop Payan, and now Space Station can get aggressive and clean up the rest of this fight.
I actually think this is okay for the Knights. They survived
I think it is too, yeah.
most of the ultimates from SSG, and they're not even that far behind. They're only 10 to 12% behind on the objective. This is good for the Knights.
You still have the Accursed Arm. You still have the Hyper Beam if you're the Knights. The Whirlwind will be coming up soon. There's the Accursed Arm. It's good for 1. Can you find the second? Sadak's a little bit out of position here, and that is going to be the second now. So now the 2 tanks are down on the side of Space Station. The Knights come roaring back into this fight, and now they're the ones on the point.
Ooh, they get Ares
with
as well.
72% as well.
Yeah, this is bad. They have to push into an Enlightenment, a Whirlwind, and a Hyper Beam with hot nothing. Only 1 ultimate over 50% for SSG. This does not look good.
It does not look good, especially if FRZ God is the one who goes down, but there's so much damage actually coming in onto the side of the Knights, and nobody's getting any kills just yet. The Hyper Beam goes wide, and G-Bunny's the one who falls as well as Rakata. Somehow Space Station withstand the ultimates. The Whirlwind came out as well to top it all off, but Ares is the one who's going off. Freeze God with 2 as well.
How?
And a double kill from Freeze God, and Space Station win it.
How? I just want to I want a replay of that whole team fight from like Midtow's perspective. I just want to know what happened. I don't really feel like I had a great scope of like how the hell the Knights dropped that one. They had ults, they had positioning, they had pressure. I mean, that's a blunder.
I think that's the only way you can really look at it. Game 3 going the way of Space Station. You got to be feeling a little bad if you're on the side of the Knights. That's the back-to-back 4-3 that does not go your way. Game 3's in the books, though. Let's send it back to the desk.
I sincerely hope that they have some game plan, because there is not a lot you can do after 2 4-3s to help bring you up. Space Station Gaming now lead 3-0, and I'm going to levy to you the same question Nick just asked everyone. How? I hope you were watching that last fight, because how?
This is my bad, because I don't exactly know what triggered the Nullify to be broken. But something happened, because Evie's sitting in that block, and they're all staring at her. Torv has been doing this consistently. Waits for her to get out, Nullify, silence, she can't do any movement ability. In between that moment, she gets nullified. Then Rachao comes up, and with the most perfect timing, sets a shield up. And in between that, even if she's nullified, that damage isn't enough to kill the Eevee. They have to go through the shield. Maybe he activates the break. Maybe it's the line of sight. Maybe it's the shield. I don't think that's what causes. I think he might have just said, okay, no, let's just try to finish them off. That gave FRZ God the ability to blink back out.
Yeah.
And then it was all over from there because they had fully committed. The 3 members had just stared at Eevee. They were expecting this is the kill, and then we just snowball it. They have 3 ults, and man, Rachel is MVP there because somehow his distraction, his ability to get in front of the Eevee, who certainly should have died, saves the matchup for SSG.
And that was actually,
you know what? It could have been resilience.
One of the biggest moments could have been resilience as well.
It could have been it. He just could have broken out quickly.
And honestly,
that's probably what it was.
It makes such a huge difference, not only having the resilience, not only living there, but I mean, this was a double hit scan pressure into Ares on the Cassie and to Freeze God on the Eevee.
Yeah.
And for Ares, that meant you can't play as open as you would like because no matter where you're standing, Androxus or Leon are going to find the shots. But for Freeze God, that meant, hey, you remember all of the times you've played Eevee on this map?
Yep.
You can't play like that. They are stopping you from having that ability because even if they don't kill you fast enough, Torvald's going to nullify you and keep you locked down. So a lot that played against SSG, which is why it is so much more impressive, I would say, that they win that last fight.
Yeah.
Even though I feel like it fell out of their hands the fight right before.
Well, when you have a little bit of an advantage out of 3-3 or any even fight when you win the first part of it, because you win the first part and you get 30, 40, whatever percent you get.
Yeah.
And then they come in, they win, but you get wiped, but you've still got some percentage on the point, and they've kind of got to make their stand there. They've got like that one chance to hold, whereas you've already tried to hold, lost, and now you can come back again knowing now they have to hold, and you can attack from many different areas. It's that 6-man that we talk about where the point has to be where your attention's at. The unfortunate thing is Pittsburgh Knights just get ahead of themselves. They focus too much on FRZ God. Rachel saves the day, swoops in like Superman, brings them out of the burning building, and then it's like, oh man, now we have 3 people attacking us and we don't even know what to do. We thought we were killing 1. Now one of us died. Yeah. What do we do now?
I mean, so much, I would say mentally, that comes into the Knights. Like, you're looking at this, that's 2 games in a row now. They've managed to take it 3-3 and managed to have a very convincing 3-3 point fight where it looks like, man, you guys can win. You can take this. But Spacestation Gaming have shown the reason that they've made it to a World Championship semifinals, have shown the reason they were considered such a huge threat throughout every international land last year, and it's because they adapt on the fly so well.
Yeah.
They look at a bad scenario and they say, you know what? This is the way we have to adapt for it. Like, this is what we need to do in order to not lose this next fight the same way.
Absolutely, and I think at this point, you've got to figure that SSG are going to take Game 4 if they continue to go for the exact same Torv strategy that's happening. Because one of the things we've seen SSG prove is that they can deal with Torvald. And not many teams are even willing to go up against the Behemoth and the intricacies that go into playing against Torvald and whoever gets amped with him. Fortunately enough, it's been 2 games of Torv Andro, so they understood that matchup already. But Ascension Peak should tell a totally different story. One thing we haven't seen with SSG really a lot is snipers, and it's something that should be in the wheelhouse, but we don't know.
True.
It could be one of the weaknesses, of Freeze God. We don't know. We haven't seen a lot of the sniper play coming from him.
And admittedly, the only things I can remember from them on maps like Frog Isle, where you might see the snipers come out, would be pretty much the same thing we just saw last map, where it's like, okay, let's grab the Eevee, let's grab a Leon, let's like fill that role without filling that role, right? I feel like Ares, if he can bring in the Leon, he has the aim, he just has to be able to kind of step up. Can you use the scope as well? We have yet to see. Ascension Peak, we've seen Kinessa on this map in the past, but I'm not sure either of the... Well, Knights might give it for Ricotta, but I don't know if it's going to be as big in this set.
Well, I think, they're now maybe really having to change something up in the ban phase. They're still banning Genos, but will they ban Ruckus here? Because that's what's been, throwing them off. Because they ban Ruckus, then they ban Khan, then Torvald gets open. G-Bunny doesn't have any of his aggressive tanks. And Sadak gets his first pick of the Ashe. So, I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to do the exact same thing? I mean, maybe they feel that the issue is not the Torvald, it's the Zen. And maybe they don't feel there's an issue at all because barring some incredible performances from SSG, that game was Pittsburgh's to lose.
I actually like this call. And this is one of those moments where people might wonder, why ban Torvald when you've beat him 2 games in a row? And honestly, it is because, they beat him 2 games in a row, but those were the hardest games they've fought in the last 2 days. Like, those were the most difficult toppling matches that they've had to deal with. Even when G-Bunny was on that con in the first game, they were still able to close it out as a 4-2 instead of a 4-3. So I like the call to kind of switch that up. It also leaves maybe a little bit more open for them to dance around.
It also feels bad for the Knights, right? You don't ban the Makoa, and then Sadak takes it, goes 19 and 11 or something like that. Carries, they win the game. Then they leave the Torvald open for you.
Yeah.
You lose 2 games in a row on it. So then now all of it's banned. You're saying, can we do the work that we need with Khan? This is a good pickup. It's also very, very susceptible in the lockout phase of things against some of the DPS carries that SSG like to play, specifically the Bomb King.
Hovering over the Inara and potentially singing the Pip.
I will fight
that was
to
so
protect
good
the
for the
sanctity
Knights
of the
yesterday.
wild.
Ascension Peak, one thing about the point fight that it has very much in common with the likes of Shattered Desert is that you can dance around the objective. There's some statues there that help the front lines, or maybe a Pip kind of dance around where they want to.
Tell me this Grok is going through.
The fact that Moldama gets locked in there, though, makes me wonder if they were thinking of doing a support Grok.
I don't know if they were.
But overall, still pretty standard Space Station gaming. Barrack, Leon, Moldamba, Ashe. Nothing true to break down. It's been what's working for them. They look comfortable on it. Of course, the Ashe is really good, very good on this map as well. Grover once again coming in, and potentially a Cassie standard down the line for the Knights as well.
You may have to Eevee here. I mean, the overpower, the Eevee really goes against what, he could also Zen, which we've seen work. It's a great lineup from Knights. I mean, they got everything they wanted. If they can't win this game, this is just a testament to the talent of SSG right now and the way that they're playing as a team. I would expect an Eevee, a BK, or a Zen. This is FRZ God's pick. The Leon's most likely going to go to Ares, and it's going to be a Drogos. So this is different than what I expected, but it's a great way to counter the Pip. This is the one matchup he's not going to excel at.
Yeah, and it's actually one of the matchups not only that's good for Drogos against Pip, but really against this lineup, it's just pretty good for Drogos in general. On this map, it's not underutilized. I don't know. Do you think we'll see Worm Jets or Combustible more?
Great question. I think we're going to see Worm Jets.
Worm Jets?
Yeah.
Being able to kind of float up in the air. Actually, I think that makes it a lot easier to do with the Pip as well. So it's going to be a very interesting pickup for them. Space Station Gaming closed it out with the Drogos. But let's go ahead and jump to Dave and Nick and see what their thoughts are on these drafts.
Thank you, guys. I'm excited to see FRZ God back on the Drogos. Haven't seen it yet from him today, but the double quadra game from him yesterday on the Drogos gets you a little excited.
Certainly leaves you something to be desired today.
Right.
He's got some big shoes to fill, and that's his own damn Nikes. At this point, though, I do want to echo what Evan said. If the Knights don't win with this lineup, I don't think they're going to win in any games against SSG.
I know. I mean, it's 4-2, 4-3, 4-3. I mean, you got to be getting frustrated. We saw the Cuss Cutie pep talk there at halftime between these two games, and that's kind of where it turned around for them yesterday. So reminding them that they're still firmly in it, I think, is Cuss, and probably what most of that conversation was. But SSG, they're the ones on the front foot here.
This is a big echo of their drafts yesterday against the Renegades. A lot of auxiliary healing. They have the Khan Battle Shout to burst people up. They have the potion from Pip to burst people up. The Grover is kind of honestly the same deal, just a big AoE burst. If they can stay together and not get too punished by like fire spits and things of that nature, which without Combustible, I think they really truly will be fine on that front. I think they do have a winning lineup here. They just got to put it together now.
No, that's a really good point. I do like the Worm Jets, though. I remember it was Random Noob, one of the early weeks in the PPL, was playing the Worm Jets Drogos and made some really, really great flanks, honestly, around kind of the top windows on this point, and made life hard for the team that they were playing against. So definitely one that can make an impact here. But at the moment, it's the Knights who are going to find themselves on the point to start things off. RZ God just picking off damage here onto G-Bunny. To the backside, teams are still pretty separated, Nick.
This might come down to ultimates, Dave. This point fight is going to take a long time. I don't think anyone's going to grab a kill early. There's too much healing on the side of the Knights, and they don't have the ability to really gas pill anyone down unless Payne wants to just get in there and try and do it himself. There's not a ton of great targets. 82% on the Whirlwind. They're getting close in the first round of ults.
Here's the aggressive Pip. He's going to get stunned up, though, but there's the healing coming out from him. He's going to find the first blood, but a bit of a trade back and forth. You get healer for Pip, and in the meantime, G-Bunny and Rakata, though, they find some as well, and it was just a one-kill gap that they needed to find the gas pedal. The gas pedal is pushed, and the kills are coming their way.
Nice stuff there. Plenty of ultimates to work with. Now the Knights are fully charged on the Whirlwind, almost 90% on the Overpower. Great stuff all around, and Lightman does come up. I don't know if that's going to be the biggest deal, though. G-Bunny looking much more like himself off of Torvald and a backup.
No, G-Bunny made his impact in a lot of games yesterday on this con, so I'm excited, Nick, to see him back on this con here today. Some kills starting to finally go the way of Space Station. That's Freeze God. He's going to be picking off some damage with the Dragon here. Oh, here's the Dragon Punch as well. As he's looking for the Inara, the wall comes out. He's lost her in the mix, actually, so that was actually a really good kind of diversion wall there from Dethroner, throwing the Dragon Punch off. 33% goes back to the cooldown, but Pittsburgh Knights still find a couple kills.
There it is. Nice disengage there. Fueled by the Whirlwind, the Knights should be able to clean this up. Ares, though, very slippery. Gigantic fear from Midtow to keep Ares alive and keep him swinging. Cuscutie versus Ares. G-Bunny throws a couple of bullets in there from the heavy repeater, picks himself up too, and just like that, Dethroner's been working on the payload this whole time as well.
That's not fair. It was like a one-on-one, then G-Bunny swoops in like the buddy of the friend who's getting beaten up and
paid
saves
off
the day.
referee.
That's exactly right. The banner comes down to the effect of a kill here. Sadak cleans up Payan. G-Bunny's going to toss one over his head. Does she have the dash? He doesn't. Well played there. The commander's grab's going to send Sadak packing. Back to base you go. The Knights are just down one, but so are Space Station here. About a minute left on the payload. None of those kills really impactful enough to get it moving.
You know, he was making that rotation, and I'm like, buddy, you're going to get knocked off the map. Oh, okay, I see what you're doing.
And he sent the Ash flying. The banner was used. The Dragon Punch is back off cooldown. Here comes the Seismic Crash as well. That's good for a stun onto Sadak, but the damage doesn't come out. He's just playing this wall nicely. Finally, G-Bunny rounds the corner and drops him. The Whirlwind as well is going to get used here. There wasn't really much aggression coming out of him, but knowing maybe a fight was coming, he decides to pull it out. Freeze God is going to find the damage. He's going to find two. Midtow steals the one away on Payan. But the Space Station Gaming lineup have found some kills, and yet again, the push stalls out.
Another Midtow has been on point today with the stuns, the fears, the crowd control coming out of the Space Station Gaming's Maldamba has been phenomenal and absolutely changing the game for them.
Yeah.
And bailing them out of situations where there really was no other answer other than a highlight support play.
Look, it's easy to forget the reload stun. Ares with the nice triple. Quiet triple to clean up that round. And honestly, this has been the story of the series. I don't know if we've seen a successful conversion since game number 1.
And a huge part of that first round for the Knights is the amount of healing they have. I just feel like, especially with that Moxie coming through for Pip, it's hard when he falls below half HP. He takes, I think it's like 50% more healing, and it's just crazy. I mean, he's getting, even while cauterized in the first round, a 1,300 HP heal. Almost tops himself back off. I want to look at Payan and G-Bunny's healing and see where they're sort of sitting on these auxiliary moments. Almost 2K for the con, almost 4K for the Pip. That's starting to add up, and those are usually critical burst heals that save the lives of targets. So I usually like to divide that number by 1,000 and say that's how many lives they probably saved this time.
Right, honestly, that's a fair way of looking at it. I mean, that's essentially one fully topped-off health bar for each of them, depending on what champion it goes on to. Here's the overpower, though. The Knights starting off firmly on the front foot. Rakata drops one. Cuscutie's the one who cleans it up, but getting aggressive there is Ares, maybe trying to just clean up a kill on the back end, but he's not able to. Rakata with 2. Could be 3. It's going to be Cuscutie instead, and the Knights, I mean, what is Space Station doing wrong? What are the Knights doing right? The point fight's just going so well for them.
Overpower comes out. Free kill. Speaking of free kills, there's another one for Payan, and then at that point, the SSG know that fight's over.
Right.
So I guess they thought might as well try and trade out here. Speaking of free kills, here comes potential for another one, dropping it onto the dome of Dethroner. SSG will definitely be able to get back here in time.
They will. And then that Dragon Punch connects this time. Mitao again with the Maldamba kill onto Payan.
I don't know if you needed to fear that, I'll be honest.
72% back. 24% in climbing now for Space Station. Freeze God's going to do his best to zone here. The Knights are the ones who are pushed back.
Ooh, that's a big ulti that just came up right there.
You have the assert dominance if you want it. It's going to be huge, especially if you're fighting around the point. I mean, it's a big point, but a lot of that fighting gets tunneled in. A nice stun there. He gets one with it. The Whirlwind's going to come out, prevent him from getting stunned up on the backside. But he's zoning out essentially 3 members right now of the Pittsburgh Knights. They have to get in there and get a touch. And in the meantime, it's Dethroner who falls, but Ricotta finds a kill for himself.
That's a critical crossbow bolt that just landed. Long rotation around, though. Is this fight going to be over?
It is.
That's what I was worried about. Lengthy rotation
Nice.
from Ricotta. He does not get involved in that fight for a long time. And it's already over when he's ready to find his angle.
Is that the difference maker for you, kind of just being out of position?
He finds that critical bolt, and I think in his head, he's probably thinking, okay, I just bought us the advantage.
Right.
Let me get a really good nail in the coffin type of angle on these guys. And SSG just, they fought back, man. By being out of that fight, making a rotation, you are essentially dead for 5 to 10 seconds, whatever it was, to make that rotation. So, tough choice. Doesn't pan out.
Does not pan out this time. Freeze God's going to find one with the Dragon Punch, but essentially trades out his life there. Cuss Cutie on the Grover. The damaged man continuing to carry here. 100% on 3 ultimates, almost 5 actually for the Knights. The Space Station Gaming only have the Dread Serpent up and available for them. And there is the Dread Serpent. Looks like the Overpower came out. It's going to drop Sadak as well, but Freeze God is back in this fight, and he's pouring down damage onto G-Bunny, and he's able to clean it up with the help of Ares here. And down goes Payan as well, but red and blue coming up now on the scoreboard, and it's a 2 for 2 so far.
Oh my goodness, he's just tracking Cuss Cutie perfectly through the windows.
Oh,
the no-look rocket is not going to be good because Grover does get that burst heal off, and Cuss will scoot.
The healing comes through, saves his life. And I mean, that could have been scary for the Knights if that kill was going to come through. The healer's now down. He's staggered out. Space Station could have pushed it through. Instead, it's the Knights who find the kills, and they have 4 ultimates to boot. Only the Dome Shield and the Assert Dominance are going to be coming up shortly here for Space Station. But 3 top damage dealers are red.
That's a good fight, though, from the Knights. They get a lot of that damage, frankly, on the Sadak came from G-Bunny, so he gets a ton of his ultimate charge back up. He's already almost halfway. Dragon Punch is going to come through here, but he almost gets blown up mid-flight. This is just to reconvene with his teammates and reposition. The Knights are in a weird spot. This is definitely a weird place for this fight to happen.
Yeah, Payan's a bit caught out here, but him and G-Bunny are going to be the 1-2 punch that drops FRZ got here.
I think
he did as
with
well.
the cripple. I was looking at the thrust cooldown, like, why is it red?
That looked right. Ares, though, is going to answer with 1 back, and again, we see this fight going so far back and forth. The Assert Dominance and the Whirlwind are going to get used here, so the Knights really dumping their ultimates into this fight, but they still have the Evil Mojo. Seismic Crash available. Scout, for what it's worth, is around as well. The Dome Shield and the Dread Serpent can be used here for Space Station. Overtime's ticking away, so no room for error if you're on the red team.
SSG are going for it as well. Sadak is in trouble. He's frankly struggled a little bit, I think, against this con. It's such a long windup on shoulder bash. He's been commandos grabbed out of it a lot. Great damage from Michelle, something we haven't exactly touched on here. He's definitely doing his thing.
Did that banner, I guess it officially came out. I mean, he was down to a 33% charge on it.
A Thrash?
Yeah.
Yep, he got it off the fight prior.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay,
yeah,
I thought he was trying to throw it down there.
Where the Dethroner was retreating, they got the Whirlwind as well. So kind of just going for tit for tat on the defense, if you will. I think it was actually right here, maybe. He just...
Oh, it was. Okay.
Right under the door.
I thought I missed it. Okay.
It's super, super quick.
That's right.
He didn't even stand in it for very long. He just left immediately.
He hit his head on the door frame, and then
so
it immediately...
So it's kind of like, did you really need to do that there? But yeah,
immediately
man,
slammed down.
2-10. He is definitely struggling here.
Having a tough game for sure. I mean, it was yesterday on the Ruckus. I think he had a wild game. I mean, he had some crazy KDs going in his favor.
He's playing this like he is playing Ruckus right now. I think he's running Slugshot as his talent, which is it's just the most offensive one. It's all offense, and he is playing Slugshot, so no Siege or Castle Breaker. Fortress Breaker, whatever the hell it's called, or no shoulder charge either, right? There's damage reduction, massive damage reduction, or a massive shield that you can go into, but he's chosen pure offense.
Pure offense it is. He is able to get some pokes. Dethroner is going to throw out the early Seismic Crash. The Scout as well is going to get used. Payan utilizing that information to his benefit, though, is going to trade out 1 for 1 here. Dethroner is still just kind of chilling on the point. The Overpower is going to get rid of 1. FRZ got just a little bit late, cleans up G-Bunny. Rashao gets caught in the Overpower. The Fear as well comes out. That's a 2 kill streak now for FRZ got in this fight, and the Knights are pushed back.
I mean, I don't even know. Game 1, it was Sadak and FRZ God, but honestly, I feel like the MVP has been Mitao today for SSG.
Yeah, he's hit some big ones.
I thought he's played phenomenally on Maldama. Big stuns, no hesitation on his fears. Double stun from Sadak. That's a nice little something.
Down it goes. He's going to stay inside of his ring, utilize that ultimate to its fullest potential. No kills coming out on the back end of the stuns, though. There's the Evil Mojo, though, and it's going to be good for 1, but now he's going low. Can the damage help from the Ash? Oh, he just needed 1 more. The reload comes through, and that's so unfortunate. And all blue now, with the exception of 1 in the kill feed. 99% it was for Spacestation, and the Knights claw it back and look poised to make it 3-2.
No ultimates to take it back. Cusscutie does go down. Nice last-ditch effort there by Rashad. Nobody's close enough, though, and the Knights will just kind of take this one in that quiet night.
And I imagine it's going to be another 2-minute slugfest with this payload trying to push up the end here. It starts out much in that way. I mean, Nick, I wouldn't be surprised if it comes down to a final point fight here, because neither team has found success, really honestly, in this series on the offensive push.
No, yeah, hasn't been a whole lot of conversions. Much at all. I want to take a look at the items, though. We're heading towards 15 minutes, which is pretty damn late game for Paladins.
Yep.
Kata's not quite reached the Cauterize 3 yet. I wonder if that's what he'll go into next, or if he feels like they have enough of that. Resilience is definitely what I expect most of SSG to go into after this, because those Evil Mojos are starting to bother them, I think, a little bit. That can't be allowed to be quite as free as it has been for Payan.
Does Resilience count for something like an overpower?
It does.
Does it limit the overpower duration if you're
It's not the duration, but you don't get thrown as far.
Got it. Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. It was definitely a big topic of conversation of how should CC reduction affect that ultimate. G-Bunny pops out of the fear very, very quickly.
Nice.
Charges bravely to his death.
That's another one in Space Station Gaming. Again, make no mistake, they're playing defense right now, but they're much in the base of the Knights. Payload still chilling on the point.
Look at these shots.
Yeah, it's honestly very impressive being able to track that high, follow the arc as well. Both are going to get some healing, and Payan's actually going to get the upper hand.
Wow.
But you got to remember, this is to get onto the payload. So they're now out of their base with 45 seconds left with some change. They're onto the payload. 5 ultimates ready for Space Station. 4.5 for the Knights.
Hip autos is that they are very big projectiles.
That's true.
That's what I will say. They do have that arc. They are pretty slowish, but they are large. That is the one thing they do have going for them that makes a matchup like that possible. And that's why it was a little weird for me that Random Noob didn't go for that yesterday.
Nice.
Such a random callback, but there were some moments where he was showing hesitation. Double Evil Mojo is going to be good to catalyze what could be the first Pittsburgh Knights win.
That's what we're looking for here. That's a nice double, but the respawns are going to come out. So essentially it bought them time on this payload to get it pushed up. They're still back in their base, our Space Station. They have the ultimates if they want to use them. Whirlwind is down, Scout is down, Evil Mojo's down for the Knights. So how much do you want to invest knowing that a potential 3-3 point fight? I imagine you don't invest too much now, Nick, now that you found a couple opening kills.
Now it's an easy question to answer. Certainly. Everybody going down here. No Whirlwind, no Evil Mojo going into this round. Now, I don't know. I think what I just said about Evil Mojo and Resilience, I don't think it applies anymore. I think SSG, if they're really thinking about it, could be like, he just used it. He's not going to have it for this fight. I'm not going to buy Resilience. He's not going to have this damn thing again. Seismic Crash could be, you know, a problem, but those haven't been super impactful to the point where that's where I'm going. That's where I'm going.
4 top
Look
damage dealers are red. Yeah.
Big man.
Big man G-Bunny.
I think it's mostly just he's got a better matchup with Sadak. He's
No,
thrown
I
him off
agree.
the map twice. He's really just kind of had his way, and that's sort of the way it goes.
Looking at the items, though, some Havens, some Blast Shields coming out, few Resiliences as well.
More damage reduction.
Just
Nobody
damage
that didn't
reduction in
have it
general.
before went into it this round. Ares bot level 2, but that's it. FRZ got doubled down on damage reduction.
Well, it's time to see how it plays out. 5 ultimates ready for Space Station. But they showed last game that the ultimate advantage doesn't necessarily matter. Here's the Dragon Punch as well as the Assert Dominance. G-Bunny's going to be the receiving end of that Dragon Punch, but it's a 1-for-1 so far. Freeze got Rakata are going to be the ones to start off this fight. Here comes the Dome Shield as well. Ares finally gets cleaned up as well. And honestly, neither team with the upper hand at the moment.
Mitao missed his Dread Serpent. It's the first time all series we've seen that not be impactful. He looked
There's
for it out of
Whirlwind.
Rakata. And Dave, it is coming back to haunt SSG. Ricotta has stayed alive and killed 2 people since that missed Serpent.
Knights with the huge retake, the assert dominance as well. That goes on.
In the hole, boy!
In the hole you go. You don't see that very often. Rachau down underneath the map and back to spawn he goes. That's where that hole ends up. Pittsburgh Knights retake the point. The ultimates are down. The seismic crash is ready. Plenty of time for Space Station to get back here and contest, but this is just going to be a slugfest.
And
only the seismic crash. And Evil Mojo.
This is Splitstone Quarry all over again. This is the Knights' fight to lose.
Well, they lost it last time. Hoping for a better outcome this time. Another 3-3. Here's the seismic crash. Overtime's coming away. Sadak is going to be the receiving end of that seismic crash, and he's going to go back to base again here. The Evil Mojo's ready if he wants to use it. Not if he gets cleaned up before he's able to, though. He's putting it out. Kills are starting to come up blue, and Pittsburgh Knights are looking to claim their first win.
That is going to be it. I can't believe they didn't do it last time. That's how that should have went on Splitstone Quarry. Knights will not fail twice to win a fight heavily in their favor. And Kusky says, well, that's so hard, huh? Was that so hard? But SSG, definitely a good game from them. I don't think they need to be too somber about that one.
No, a 4-3 finally comes up in favor of the Knights. Game 4 was back and forth. But let's send it back to Evan and Gore to get their thoughts.
Well, that one was a 4-3 slugfest, but the Knights finally find themselves a win in this set. They go back and forth throughout that entire game, but it does come down to the very end. Knights get on the point. Knights win one fight. They win fight part 2. Turns out the Cuss Cuties Pep Talk part 2 today worked out.
Unbelievable. They keep doing it. And now you got to be a little worried. You got to be a little worried if you're SSG. Not like that you played bad, but that things have been so close. This is an atypical 4-0. It's a 4-0 that's lasted 15-minute games each time. They've been, 4-3s and very close contested fights where everyone's had threatening moments. Payne on the Pip just outperformed again, and you have to question if that's really the turnkey. 11-17 doesn't quite show the story of what he did. He would win a lot of fights against the Drogos midair.
Yes.
FRZ God should have won those every single time, just due to the laws of physics. But somehow Payne was coming out on top, and G Bunny showed that with that con, he is as deadly as he hopes to be. 20-10. It's one of the only games we've seen Sadak have a negative KD. 6-16. The Commander's grab, unlike against, where a Bomb King might put him in a vulnerable spot, he was not capitalized on it. Sadak's shoulder bash was just really nullified again and again and again.
And there were a lot of things going, I think, back and forth between the teams every single round. But one thing that was really big towards the end of it, and Nick pointed out, was we just saw a Dread Serpent that connected that was very big. Last game, Dread Serpent aimed at Ricotta, does not connect, and because of that, he just lives through the engagement. And there were several moments where he's finding crossbow bolts, sometimes through members of SSG to find the target he needed.
Well, it could have just, it's also, there's a lot of potential that what worked for FRZ God prior wasn't really working. The flank routes he was choosing it was really spotted out by Ricotta. It was really spotted out and called out by Cuss, and the rotation was on point to match it from Pittsburgh. You're like, okay, I'm going to take Pip and Cassie as my main DPS threats while I'm in the sky. And somehow that worked in Pittsburgh's favor.
Yeah.
And I think that it might have just been the patience of FRZ God. We don't have a lot of times to criticize him. And so maybe we won't do that as much, although I think he got a little ahead of himself. It's really more to the great play of Ricotta and of Payne here to kind of make a potentially bad matchup shift in their favor.
Well, the last couple of maps have been probably some of the longer maps. I know Timbermill, Fish Market were banned away. Ice Mines was banned away.
Yeah. We
haven't gone to, I think Bright Marsh is the 4th map that's banned away as well. So we haven't really been able to hit kind of, I guess, the other standards. There's not been a Frog Isle yet. There's not been some of the maps that I think we're used to seeing. Do you see this more like Frozen Guard, keep it in this lengthy map, or do you see them maybe like for Space Station Gaming trying to bring it home to something a little closer?
I think Space Station will just go to a comfort pick here, and I think there's no reason they shouldn't. I think what's been interesting is that these drafts have been telling a story that, before we even get in the game, is going to dictate so much of how each player performs. And the con not being banned this time around, the Torvald obviously taking that spot because it was 2 games in a row of trying grueling fights. You now have to wonder, what do you want? Which one was worse? Which one was better? And now you have to deal with Serpent Beach because that's a very different dynamic too. Torvald has a couple of great moments on Serpent Beach where he can be very effective, although he suffers in a lot of that sustain and that mobility that this map also really relies on.
So this is the thing I want to ask. So 4-2, 4-3, 4-3, and then 4-3 in reverse. A lot of numbers. But
a lot of numbers.
This is the first time since the beginning of the set, since I think the first map, that SSG are choosing where to go. This is the first time that they're driving this car again.
That's true.
Do you think that's going to play a big difference, or do you think because it's Serpent Beach, everyone's played here a million times, it does come down to, like, Eevee? Do you pull out a Mave? Do you pull out some of those more fringe picks we've seen the last couple of days to give you that edge?
I mean, you could see Drogos. That's what they did in map 1, game 1 of set 1 for them against Envy. The Drogos was extremely successful, but they could also go Eevee. I think Drogos would be a fine pick here, and FRZ God can't shy away from one of his best champions in the entire game, so you have to be willing to bring that to the table. It just doesn't mean that you have to pick it up into matchups that aren't favorable right now. And even letting the Cassie go to Ricotta could put a damper on what FRZ God wants to do unless he has a little bit more mobility, which is why if they decide to leave the Cassie open, we could see him shift towards more of an Eevee.
So we had mentioned, actually going into Ascension Peak, that, you know, Kinessa is something that could be played there. The same thing can be said for Serpent Beach here. That is something that Kinessa has been seen on, but we haven't, like you said, actually going into Ascension Peak as well, haven't seen anyone on SSG pull that out.
I think...
Do the Knights get Ricotta on something like that, or do they just keep him comfortable on Cassie or Leon?
I think we're more likely to see Ricotta's Kinessa than FRZ Gods. And that's the one, like we mentioned earlier, champion that, for whatever reason, just hasn't really popped up in a lot of SSG lineups. And that's okay. I mean, they've been doing it without it. They've got a lot of flexibility on the base champions and the blasters, which opens up so much, and Ares really stepped up as far as that flex. But Ricotta on the Cassie looks to be, Nick had said this earlier, he thinks it's his best champion, and I tend to agree now looking at the way he plays and performs with her. He's just so deadly on big game, a little bit more efficient than some of the other Cassies we've seen, and that's just something SSG are going to have to take into consideration in this ban.
And it's just one of those things. Consistency beats all, I think, in anything, and, well, Pan has been consistent on one thing and one thing only, and so far it has been this pip, and SSG, with the first pick being able to say, we can grab Torvald if it comes through, we can grab Ruckus if it doesn't get banned, we can get Genos again here. Yeah. We're going to drive this story once again. So they get rid of the pip, Mako on the other side, and they're still trying to figure out this last ban.
And this just really, I think the pip really speaks volumes to a lack of preparedness for SSG as far as being able to be here as a team.
Yes.
Remember, it is only their third day. I think it's only their 72 hours of being here together, and that means that they just don't have pip in the back pocket yet, and it is more efficient to ban it out. I mean, they know what to do against Torvald. They've done it many times, and they have a strategy around it. This time they could get the Torvald though, because Knights are in that second pick position. Now they force the Torvald from them, and an early Ashe could come through from SSG if they find that this is really going to change the dynamic.
Not only that, but they kind of force G-Bunny. If they go for an Ashe, if they go for something, Ruckus is available, and if they don't pick it first, then it kind of forces the Knights to say, like, well, we have to play it. Yeah. Whether or not G-Bunny is prepared to play it, whether or not he's as comfortable with that as he would be, say, on the Ashe or the Khan.
Yeah.
That's going to be the big question for them, and I think that could just seal the deal on the game.
Well, I think the Barrack for Rachao is really one of the most consistent things that I've been impressed with from Spacestation. He has been phenomenal on this role, and he's got a 60% win rate. I mean, let's just look at that for a second. If that was what the developers saw in the actual game of Paladins, and trust me, he's not a 60% win rate in Paladins in general, but if they saw this, they'd have to nerf him. This is that level that's so far out of the usual numbers of deviants, where you usually see 52, 48. That's where you want people to lie. 54 starts to be a problem. 56, oh no. 59, this guy is winning a lot. Let's just put it that way. And maybe it's because Rachao mains him, so SSG are tilting that in their favor. But right here, I think SSG get their dream lineup. They take Cassie away, they get Sadak on Ruckus, Rachao back on Barrack, and they can flex so many different blasters for FRZ God.
And the way Serpent Beach goes, and I think part of the reason they're waiting so long for it is because, hey, do you think Drogos or Eevee will work better here? And you just play the patient game. Although
totally.
This is going to be one of the first times that he's not been banned, and SSG are not getting the Genos. They know how to play it, so are they going to play against it? And they actually changed that. They don't grab the Ruckus.
I kind of like that.
And they scoop up that Eevee.
I kind of like that because it really does give you this, it takes a little bit more mystery. It adds a little bit more mystery to this lineup because Inara is still available. And it's not that it's impossible. You don't have to have a super aggro tank, and it's not like they couldn't play it. You could just decide to try to play Inara a little bit more in the front side, try to pressure out that high ground and push them back. She's very tanky. She could do it. And you're expecting to be able to have a Damba here.
I'm wondering if the Knights are kind of thrown off by this. I mean, they do still have Leon available for them, and we saw earlier what a Leon can do against an Eevee. But I feel like there was a lot of pressure that came down from that. That was partially the Androx, partially Leon. So looking at this is where the Knights are formulating their draft, but I like the fact that they left something open because, admittedly, they don't have anything stellar just yet.
Yeah, and it's good to get the EV, see a little bit if they show their signs. The Leon's going to get picked up. The Ruckus and the Maldamba now taken. And I think Ruckus has a good matchup against Ashe and Inara, to be honest. I think Ruckus has matchups against both of those tanks, and Bear can hold his own. It's going to be the Maeve, at least for Knights right now as they hover. They saw what it did yesterday. It was absolutely dominant on Shattered Desert. It taught them quite a few things when Invocal pulled this out, and I hope that they've learned from it here.
I can dig it. I love Maeve on this map. I love Maeve in general, but they are going to flip it.
Wonder if they're actually hovering all these things, or if this is just pointless.
I actually would believe that they were hovering the Maeve there. Androxus locked in, though, at the very end.
They hovered Fernando over and then Inara, too?
Yeah.
I don't.
Because Androxus...
Throner continues to play the Inara consistently, so this seems like... I'm not sure if they're really thinking those things. Okay, so we do find the veracity. They were accurate, so they were hovering. So this is good, Gordon. Back in that train of thought that you were saying, there are really a lot of questions here in this last game.
And I feel like the good part of it is the fact that they, like you said, they saw what Invocal could do with Maeve, and they're like, can we play it? Like, do you think you can play it at this level? Like, I'm not locking this in until you tell me, yes, you can. And maybe they weren't feeling it. Maybe they were like, you know what, Androxus is pretty good against Eevee. We saw what it could do earlier. We got Luminary. Let's just hope.
Hey, man, they've already played it before. Payne's shown that he knows what to do. I'm excited for this one.
Oh, hey, it's Serpent Beach. It could be the last map. Knights are against the wall. Let's go down to Dave and Nick. Find out if SSG can do it.
Serpent Beach, the land of the snakes. Maldamba would have been.
Is that a J. Cole song?
Land of the Snakes?
Yeah.
That is way out of my...
Might be an Evan question.
Yeah, that is out of my...
Is that out of your wheelhouse?
That's out of my wheelhouse.
No worries. I know that's at least a line. I don't know why.
If it ain't Old Town Road, I don't know it, dude.
Fair enough. I found my lane and I'm staying in it.
I like the Andro, though. I was kind of sad when they hovered the Maeve. I was hoping that would be the one to make its way through there. But Payne's liking his Andro. And it's into the Eevee yet again. Sniffing that one out, though, is FRZ God. What do you like from both teams here on either side?
What I like is the front line from the Knights. I think they will have a much easier time controlling where they can stand on this map. What I don't like is this Andro. I think it died so much with Torvald. Without Torvald, unless Pan changes his playstyle massively and plays much more passive, he could have 20 deaths this game.
And that's what he'll be hoping to avoid. Yeah, you said it well. Even with the Torvald in his back pocket, he died mid-teen deaths. The reversal is going to go a bit wide. Be careful, though. 84% without any kills so far in this game for Spacestation. One kill could be all they need to tilt this one back in their favor. The Eevee's going low, and it's just kind of some poke going back and forth. Something needs to change here.
Blood.
No first blood just yet.
Uh-oh.
Leon, Sadak now is getting aggressive, and it is going to be Rakata who's going to be the victim of the first blood. Ares cleans up the Throner for number 2. G-Bunny makes 3. And that's all they needed to claim point number 1.
And, brother, I don't know how you get down 90% to nothing when you have a Nara Ashe versus a Ruckus Baron.
Yeah, just stand there.
To me, yeah, just stand on the point forehead. Fancy footwork here from Sadak. The key is to be touching a wall when you jump, and you jump higher in Paladins, so he does that. That's why he's looking away, just so he can jump off that wall and then backpedal.
Almost.
I feel like I learn a new thing every time I see a Serpent Beach game. There's so much to moving around this map that like you have to be good at. It's kind of nuts.
The eternal student.
Yeah. The day you think you got it mastered is the day you fall off.
That's true. The student is never a student. Mitao, though, to be the one to fall. And wouldn't you guess it?
Okay.
The payload push has gotten stalled out at 50% again. Here's a bold prediction for me for this game. I say a payload gets converted at some point in this game.
All right.
I mean, I feel like I'm remembering.
Get your ass back to the Old Town Road, all right? Calm down. Stay in your lane.
I mean, I'm certainly missing one. I feel like it had to have been converted at some point in this series, but I feel like up to this point it's been like offense, defense, back and forth. Well, I mean, either team has won the point, but it hasn't gone through just as of yet. But starting to get on the right foot here are the Knights. Oh, wait, no, they're on defense. But the payload actually, in the meantime, is getting pushed so far through.
It is moving.
It is moving, but a Ricotta double is going to stall it out right where it is, paying with one as well.
And the important thing is it's moving with time on the clock.
Yeah, 50,
There's still a
50 seconds.
minute left.
And they really put this one in what I call striking distance. One team fight victory, and this one's going home. This one is going through. Dave's prediction would come true. They don't have a lot of ultimates to do so, however, and I think if they're playing safe, they're really just going to focus on getting these recharged, and if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But the Knights are out in front in the ultimate economy at the moment.
And they have the defensive positioning. Here comes the reversal. It's going to go onto a turret. So a little bit of value there for it.
Yep.
22 seconds left. Neither team. This is almost how the point fight went, where neither team is really trying to overstep. Unfortunately, Sadak gets aggressive onto Pan. This could be it. This could be conversion here. But unfortunately for them, Ricotta flipped it on its head. Sadak with 2 in this fight. G-Bunny makes 2 for the Knights now. The banner is down as well. A little bit of immunity. Here's the Hexafire, Sadak, but it goes into the wall. Cuskcutie finds him. And Nick,
Try to make a hero play.
call it a defense.
Try to make a hero play.
Book it a defense. G-Bunny, FRZ God goes down as well.
Closing bell sounds here. Knights hold. Ultimates on either side, though. Enlightenment gets a kill, and that's literally never not valuable to do. You get 50% of your ultimate charge back. So in total, Ricotta's back to 74. Very, very ballsy Hexafire there from Sadak. He runs largely into a narwhal and gets little to no value. But the upside of that was, if this goes according to plan, this is a conversion. We will push this point through. So I'm not too upset by it, to be completely honest.
No,
with
I
you.
think it's a fair look.
There's
I mean,
a big upside there.
He'll recharge it in time. Probably not for the initial point fight, but shortly thereafter, you would assume. Cuskcutie undying up to this point on the Genos.
And FRZ got unkilling.
Unkilling on FRZ. God, that could be the difference. I mean, he's found the
approach.
damage. Right. It's the through time and space going a little bit wide there. And here's what you wanted to see, I think, Nick, on the side of the Knights was Dethroner. Unfortunately, he faced tanks just way too much damage there. But that's, I think, what you wanted to see was a little bit more of a presence from the Sonara Ash.
Yep, putting some poke on a Cuskcutie here. I'm calling that out to FRZ God. He's killed Payan on the left-hand side as well. I think you push this down. He's up in his roost, looking for somebody or something to kill.
A pacifist no more as FRZ God. He finds his first here in this game. 7 or so assists under his belt as well. Ricotta up on the high ground here with this Leon. That's kind of where you want to be. Seismic Crash is going to come out, find a few on the point. Ricotta and Pan combined for a couple kills as well. That's a running Andro with 190 health. The reversal's not going to be good. Rachao is the one who's going to end up cleaning that one up. But FRZ God ever lurking in the background. The Dome Shield is going to be used, but he's way outside of it at the moment. 84% here for Space Station. Ricotta, Dethroner now finding some kills as well, but Ares flipping it on its head. I feel like every fight we've seen in this series has been kind of a trade back and forth.
As long as Ares is here, neither of these tanks are safe from the Knights. That's what they need to realize. Ares is low. He could get pushed down by Dethroner here, and he will.
He will, and Pan utilizing that verticality on the Andro. 81% and climbing here for the Pittsburgh Knights. Space Station are going to try to find a retake here. They don't have their Cassie at the moment. Rachao throws down the shield here up top. He used the Dome Shield just a minute prior. 99%. Overtime's going to start ticking away here. Both teams really in the zone where one team fight will win it.
Run it down, Ruckus. He's got 2 squishy targets in front of him. FRZ finds Dethroner. Sadak finds Cuss, tries to get some more, but SSG just flip-flop, and it feels like, especially when you look at the KDs for SSG, it's just playing the objective better.
Yeah.
Negative, negative, even, +1. It's like, it's not an overwhelming, violent force on one side or another. It's just more objective play. Like when Navi won that set when they were all negative, it's kind of like, it feels like that.
They said the other team was playing team deathmatch. We're out here playing the objective. Pittsburgh Knights finding their lone point on the defensive end. It's been the story of this set so far. Which team can win, honestly, the last point, because it's gone 4-3. Our last 3 games, only the first round going 4-2.
Real talk, I think it's Rochelle. I think Rochelle has played a monstrous game here on Serpent Beach.
Ooh, nice.
First round, colossal lead with just
health.
Barrick versus Nara on the objective. Rochelle's just been a monster on the point, and that's simple. It's first pick Barrick paying off.
First pick Barrick doing work. The Enlightenment's going to be good, but he is going to trade out his life for it. Here's the Seismic Crash as well as the Dome Shield. The Ultimate's starting to get popped.
Take it
His
home,
payload's
brother.
so far. It's so close to going through. There are kills coming out for the blue team here, and health bars are low. Payan goes down. Rochelle just hiding behind the payload right now, continuing to pour out damage, but here's the Assert Dominance, and it's getting flipped on its head. Rakata finds a kill. Dethroner finds a kill as well. Ares is running away. He's going to go down as well, and the Knights, against all odds, look like they're going to find a defense, but FRZ God's still around.
Ooh,
As I say it.
They're just there. Payan just makes out of his spawn. Oh, you're right. Oh my god.
I thought it was about to be over.
There's something about those real finish line types of fights that you're like, oh, the round is definitely over. If this is over and it's like a minute 30 left on the clock, oh, okay. Well, they have plenty of time here, SSG, to get these recharged and find a pick. They don't have an easy way to do it. They don't have an overpower. They don't have a dragon punch. Nothing really like that. So they're going to have to do it the old-fashioned way, which hasn't proved overly difficult for them. Sadak finds a quick pick on the Cuss Cutie. Looks like he just dove in on it.
That's the healer who's down now. Payan whips out the Accursed Army, finds some damage, doesn't find any kills, instead trades out his life. FRZ God's going to be the one to do it. G-Bunny drops Rochelle, a double now for the Eevee. He could get aggressive here. He could push this one through. 10 seconds left. The wall is going to just protect her. I don't know why he blinked out. He could have finished off the kill there. Dethroner's low. Dethroner goes down. Ares goes big, and in goes the payload. Dave, the Oracle.
Yes,
the
brother.
orb speaks to me, and a payload finally goes through in the set. 3-1 it is.
Not only that,
game, set, and match.
but they bring the wall down.
They bring the wall down.
Mr. Gorbachev, Dethroner's wall, and the payload found its way home as a result of it. You just never expect to see that.
You don't.
It's basically all 5 members of SSG shooting. It's the only thing stopping them from converting the payload. Here's the clutch solo kill, midair Ice Storm. This was that pick that we were talking about, and just a gorgeous play there to shut down Payan. Unfortunate that he got caught by the Ice Storm.
Yeah, and Payan has made some plays on Andro the few games that we've seen it come out, but I feel like the Splitstone game and then this one have just not really been going his way. Not that I question the Andro pick. He's I think, feeling relatively comfortable with it, but I don't think it's found the impact that they've been looking for.
He did get ulted there.
He did. No, that's fair. That's fair.
But hey, man, trying to win the game, got to do it somehow. Rochelle gets another one. His shots on Barrick have been gorgeous here on Splitstone, or on Serpent Beach, man. What a player.
It's Rochelle, it's Sadak, it's Freeze God, it's one of them on the side of Space Station Gaming, seemingly in every fight. 60% and climbing now for him. A good zone would seal up set number 1 for the day.
It's really funny. It's been a different player or combination of 2 players from SSG that has really won hard every game. Reversals being fed here, juicy from the Hexifier, but it's still going to result in a kill on the G-Bunny.
Freeze God is the one who cleans that one up. Now it's down to Dethroner. He's the one who's going to try to flip this one on its head, but Rochelle drops Payan. Freeze God hunts down Cuss Cutie. Rakata answers back, but trades out his life. It's up to Dethroner. He falls. Space Station Gaming take it 4-1 in set number 1 of the day.
I mean, the only game they lose, Midtown plays great, but I don't think his performance should be overlooked there on Ascension Peak. These boys are feeling good about it. Rochelle plays incredible on that map. I think really he's the win condition there on Barrick. Game number 1, like I said, FRZ got in Ares. Splitstone, very, very good performance by Ares. So whatever game it was a different member or combination of players from SSG. They both played beautifully today as an overall squad.
Well, Pittsburgh looked good, but Space Station gets the win. Let's send it back to the desk to break down set number 1.
Well, it comes down to exactly what Nick had said at one point, which was, doesn't matter, I guess, actually, if you slice off that last fight, doesn't matter if you look at the slash lines for SSG. What matters is the fact that they have the point control. And then that last fight definitely, I think, tipped them all more towards the positive-leaning slash lines. Very happy with their win, and I'm sure the Knights looking to go back. Yesterday wasn't as good as they wanted, even though they won, and today, even though they got the one map, they definitely don't seem happy.
Well, Cuss doesn't seem happy, and I think, he's just got high expectations for himself and this crew, and that's great to have. And Dethroner, G-Bunny, Rakata, they feel like they're a little more excited that they even got to play these guys and get that experience. you know, as a person coming into the PPL and being on a team that's getting wins aside from the splice that a lot of those guys were on, and Dethroner going from sub to on this team and getting W's, you know, to play against these teams that have been at the world stage, world championship, you know, could have been the best in the world last year, probably on a different day might have been. It's just an awesome experience. You learn a lot, and I think Pittsburgh Knights getting one win and grinding through this set, it's got to feel rough because you were there every moment. But that's got to give you confidence going forward, and you shouldn't hang your heads low at all.
So Ricotta gets top player damage in this game. And if you could guess at anyone else, you'd probably put Ares, Freeze God, maybe Sadak as number 2, maybe Pan. It was Rachau on the barracks, sitting up at 80,000 damage. He was doing so much.
Off. And there was a couple of moments where you just saw the impact. And that's Rachau on Barrack has single-handedly made Barrack an OP champion. And as far as win rate, I mean, this SSG squad, you think about it, 2 days, 8 games. I'd be surprised if he won on a different champion aside from Barrack for maybe one of those games. I think he played Barrack almost every single game. And they were so good. And his shots from Tinker, they're just mattering. It's on the damage dealers. It's on the people that are getting kills. This is a tank supposed to be sitting on point. But he's doing so much more than that. Rachau, big ups to him.
Seems like they're absolutely taking some of the plays out of the Na'Vi playbook. They've seen what they could do with Barrack, and they're like, you know what? We can do it too. In fact, we might even be able to turn it up a notch from where Lazy has it. It looks really good for them, but Spacestation Gaming find that one as a 4-1. Not only the map, but the entirety of the set. So you can see them now sitting in number 2, 2-0, just above the aforementioned Nadas Vincier. They have one less map played, or match played, but they have the same plus-minus for their games. And, I mean, that's exciting for them, to be able to come in on their first week, a week that everyone was kind of like, man, we don't know how you're going to do, and they win both.
It's impressive. You know, SSG out there, they're doing their thing, man, and it's great to see that as an org. You put the trust in, you put the time in, you believe in these guys who are orgless for so long, who are being dropped, who are being discounted, and Space Station said, no, these players have what it takes, and we are going to commit to getting them here. It took 4 weeks after the league started to get them here. They got him here, and what a way to pay everyone back and all that effort back by getting 2 wins in your debut.
Back-to-back 4-1s, and as you saw, Envy are going up against Renegades. Yesterday, not the performance they wanted to have against Space Station Gaming, but Renegades are looking to try and climb forward. They ended up losing theirs at 7 games, so a very tough loss. But the way things have been going, Space Station Gaming, they're looking amazing. 2 wins, no losses, and even though both sets go to 5 games, they close them out. We have Sadak and Ares, I believe, standing by for an interview, so let's jump to them and see how they feel after this set.
Gentlemen, back so soon?
Hello.
Here in the Windows Circle?
Welcome back.
How's it feel, man? I mean, get 2 games in a row, pretty fresh off the plane here in America, Ares. Was this what you guys expected out of your first week of games?
Not really. I guess, like I told you yesterday, we didn't practice so much because of a lot of stuff that happened to us, but we are ready now, and we are better than ever, and every week you're going to be better.
Looking good, sounding good for sure. A 4-1 when it's all said and done, but some of those were some pretty damn tough games. How did you guys feel about this Pittsburgh Knights team overall? Harder or easier than Envy?
They were a lot harder, for sure. Like, the way they adapt, the way they use their abilities was really different, like, really coordinated. They have lots of potential.
How did you guys take down the Torvald 2 times in a row? Is that something that you're not so worried about? Because it's been banned forever. It's like one of the first times it's made it through today. How did you guys deal with it so nicely?
I think we used to deal with average champion, and it's something that we train, the Torvald, the Can, and we can try a lot of things into the draft. That's why our team is so good. We can play against anything, so we just adapt.
Cool. Yes. Sadak, everything seemed to be working so well for you today. Regardless of what champion you played, you were putting up some damage numbers, putting up some good slash lines. How are you feeling as an individual, and how do you feel fitting into this team?
Feeling good. I'm feeling actually really good. I think, I'm playing like never before. For me, yeah.
You certainly look that way. One last question that I have for you guys is, when is it time to first pick Barrack? Like, how do you come to that decision? That's always been a curious thing for me.
When Rachau is angry.
Yeah?
Yeah, basically. Give me Barrack. Okay, man.
Okay. You just back off. Guys, well, congratulations to you both, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Paladins Premier League, brought to you by Skillshot.